The intention of justice is to see that the guilty people are proven guilty and that the innocent are freed. Only we have a problem here.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are taking a look at this case from a psychological perspective.
Today is Eric's 44th birthday. Today is a cruel reminder of another year Eric will never see.
Corey chose pride, seeking to project an image of success. Corey chose adultery and lust, prioritizing her secret lover over her husband and her children. Corey chose fraud and greed, hoping to profit from Eric's death. Corey chose murder, and she continues to choose vengeance against the victims of her actions.
This is the son whose room she said she went into because he was having night terrors. If called to testify at trial, AR would have recalled being put to bed early on March 3rd, 2022, without bathing, which is unusual for the boys. The television was playing loudly inside his parents' bedroom, and when AR tried to enter, he found he was locked out.
The time for Corey to make choices is at an end.
The reasons set forth in the state's sentencing memorandum and the boundless reasons the court has learned from presiding over this case, the pending criminal case, and the multiple associated civil cases. The state requests that the court impose a sentence of life in prison without parole.
And the bottom line is this. Corey Richards was convicted unanimously and beyond a reasonable doubt of attempting to murder Eric Richards, her husband, and the father of their 3 children. And then, having failed in her first effort of spending the next 17 days, not changing course, but doubling down, preparing to try again, and ultimately completing the act through the administration of poison. And for what? Money. A person convicted of those things is simply too dangerous to ever be free.
Outlook from the beginning was, we just want the truth. I want to find out what is the real evidence in this case, and we'll live with whatever that is.
Here it is right here. She's definitely looking at her phone.
John did leave the bar that night with a cocktail glass. He brought it in my car.
I've spoken to some lawyers in Massachusetts who know Hank Brennan and told me that they actually are, friendly, and they've spoken to him about this case. And I asked him, I was like, did he really think he's gonna win? Like, did he really think he's gonna win? All the lawyers that I know that were watching this and covering this said there's no chance he's gonna win. How is it that you take this case and really believe you're gonna win? I really wanted to know. And they've told me that he, honest to God, believed in his case.
Today, Samantha and I are going to analyze the cocktail glass that John took from the waterfall. We know that we saw Karen take a glass from C.F. McCarthy's to the waterfall, but that doesn't seem to be the glass that John ultimately ends up with in Karen's car.
To me, it might not be clear to everyone, but in actuality, Julie Nagel sent her brother, Ryan, a text message, not a phone call, a text message between 12:15 and 12:20 saying, "I'm ready to go home." We are narrowing our window of the possible time that John O'Keefe was murdered.
How long was it between the time that Ricky parks in front of the driveway and the time that your sister comes home?
Probably about 2 minutes.
Well, guess what we just learned? We can't say how much he knows, but he definitely covers for his sister here. What a good big brother he is, covering up a murder.
Of this file is not a genuine dash cam recording.
You have to buy that. So, you have to buy that. So.
And showing solidarity, you can see them there.
It's about getting justice for John O'Keefe. There clearly is an issue of integrity.
How dare they? It's all nonsense. And, for whatever attorney put that quote in the motion in the civil case should be ashamed of himself. That's BBO material right there. He knew what we were talking about, and he made it sound like something else to a judge.
Justice for all. Only we have a problem here.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Monday, everybody. It is our Monday nooner, and I welcome onto the show my co-host. Well, maybe he'll be here too. There he is. Hi, Vince. Hi, Loophole Lawyer. How are you? Happy Monday.
Thank you. I'm doing well. How do you feel about yesterday's performance?
Well, I mean, it was an awesome fundraiser. I was so impressed by the lineup that he had, right? I mean, we were like small potatoes. It was such an awesome lineup, and it was fun. I didn't get to watch all of it, but I got to watch a lot of it after the fact, or later on I started tuning in more. So it was awesome. What'd you think?
I thought it was awesome. Obviously, we were the best. We raised, probably 90% of the money yesterday. I think we were in last place according to the time slot. But either way, I know it was a bit combative, but that's what we have to do in order to solve this case. And that's the beauty and the fun of this case. And today, Samantha, I have a theme, and there's a country song, and I was inspired by Emily C. singing to that really good-looking guy she does the show with.
Yeah, the cute investigator.
Oh my God. The fact that she rips me for not knowing one little fact, and then she'll not talk to me for 7 weeks, and then he'll come on and be like, who is this girl, Karen Rod again? You know, and he's like, oh, he's so cute.
But the whole point of that show is to try to communicate to somebody who doesn't really know the case about the case. So I don't think he's supposed to know who anybody is. But it is cute. Yes. I like that show. He's great. It's funny.
Yeah, of course. Great. It's always great when you're good looking, that chiseled jawline. My God. So she sang a country song, and you would not believe this, but I'm a huge country music fan. And there's a song that says that you have to thank God for these unanswered prayers because they lead you to something else. And we're going to see a lot of that in today's little video that we put together with regard to what David Yannetti disclosed yesterday during the show after we left. Right.
Yes.
So
yes.
There will be so many times where there were mistakes and weird things happened that led us all to where we are today. And in the end, we'll see that it is beneficial for us and everyone in solving this case.
Absolutely. No, I mean, every step of the way. It was interesting listening to Yannetti yesterday for so many reasons, right? And we will definitely get to the video. I also want to make sure that we talk about the Corey Richins sentencing, because that was something I haven't had a chance to talk about it, first off, and I've never seen anything like that. That in so many ways and for so many reasons, it was awe-inspiring. And I wonder, just as a starting point, and then we can kind of spend the rest of the show on the case. What were your sort of takeaways from sentencing of Corey Richins?
Well, the sentencing is something that's probably expected, obviously, because most states have mandatory minimums. So I don't think there's much leeway with regard to what the judge can do.
Right.
Obviously, hearing from the kids directly, technically indirectly through their advocates, was, to me, something that was very unique in the fact that they're speaking about their mother like this. And as heartbreaking as it is, you also have to understand that they're kids. And what they view as, let's say, negative doesn't necessarily mean that Corey was doing it to harm them. But the ultimate harm, obviously, is killing their father. And that is something that it doesn't matter how many chickens she killed or lizards she killed. I mean, she killed their dad. And, right? So ultimately, you have to feel, but you also have to remember that those kids are going to be bound by this mother and this tragedy and losing their father forever. So if you have sympathy for Corey Richins, at least in the smallest amount, she still technically is their mother.
Well, and then the other thing that came out, but even before with the sentencing memo from the prosecution, she apparently has been doing all kinds of menacing things. She made a gay dating profile for the lead investigator in the case. She has been, sending police to the Richins farm for anything from saying that they have firearms obtained illegally to marijuana on the premises, because I guess Amy Richins smokes marijuana. she's, it's insane. It's just, it never ends with her. She's getting messages sent to the jail. I guess she has admirers, of course. And one of them is like, they haven't seen anything yet. It's like very threatening. I'm going to get everybody. I'm going to get the prosecution. I'm going to get the cops. And, and then I thought, listening to her, so of course, because I'm mostly interested in what she has to say, in the sense that I want to ultimately, highlight wherever the deception is in what she's saying. But you can't help. So here she is. She tries to stand up and say that this is a message to her sons because she can't speak to them. They bar any effort that she makes to reach out to the kids. And so this is her big moment. And then she spends, I don't know, a third of it directly speaking to all of us. People are going to mischaracterize you. And if you don't say anything, then you're doing it wrong. And if you have an emotion or you don't have an emotion, it's just so transparent. But what I realized walking away, just the sum total of all of it, is that this is a narcissist. Corey Richins is a real narcissist, like the real kind, the kind that when you open up a book and it's sort of like, she is it all the way. There's nothing but what she wants you to see. Like, she will never, ever admit to this, not as long as she's breathing, because her whole premise of reality is built upon what she wants you to see, right? That's what it's all about. And when the thing about this that was the most upsetting to me, all of it was predictable up until her lawyers. The fact that these attorneys are so tone deaf that they have the audacity to read a letter from a mother, a person totally unrelated to this case, who feels bad after the fact because she sentenced her son's killer to life without parole and regrets doing it. That was the sole purpose of reading this woman's letter into the record. It was the audacity, her attorneys may be the worst attorneys of all time. They really might be, because if I'm the judge, that would be so tone deaf, so off-putting. I would want to penalize them, right? Like, how could you be so stupid to do this? You know what I mean?
I've noticed that people with severe narcissistic personality disorder will choose attorneys that they could generally control. They choose supplies and they end up in jail. And that goes for Donna Sue Adelson as well. She did the same thing, where you choose someone that is going to listen to your bullshit as opposed to telling you what you need to hear. And classic actions of a narcissist is to discard anyone that disagrees with them, even on the slightest. And when you retain an attorney, you're paying them for the advice. And a lot of times we have to advise clients that what they did was wrong, or they have to do something different to what they want to do, and they don't want to hear it, especially if you have narcissistic personality disorder. Mm-hmm. So I haven't really observed Corey to make that diagnosis. I like to make my diagnosis without actually treating or viewing the patient or having a medical degree. That's generally what I do. But I have studied someone with narcissism, and I've seen the fact that they will take a card that's generated by someone writing for Hallmark, and they'll read the words, and if they're kind to them, they will keep this card forever. It could be from anybody, like a random person. It could be from a company. And they just love that praise or reassurance to whatever they believe in. And it's so fascinating because you're right, they're so tone deaf. It's so obvious when someone has narcissistic personality disorder if you know what it is. And once you identify it, it's so easy because they all exhibit very similar characteristics. It's so significant. Do you believe that there is no treatment for someone with that disorder?
So it depends on whether or not somebody's really a narcissist, because there's a lot of additional behavioral and diagnostic indicators that mimic narcissism, but aren't in the end. So I would never sort of throw that diagnosis around clinically, because it's so rare. It's so rare. To really see a true narcissist is so rare. For example, if you have a pervasive substance use disorder, you're going to look on paper like a narcissist. So I would get so angry when, like when kids, teenagers are manipulating their psychiatrist into believing they never use drugs. Then they get to me and they're honest and they're like, yeah, I've been, secretly snorting my Adderall since I was 8, and doing lots of other things also. And they're on paper, sort of diagnosed with narcissistic personality. And it's like, no, this isn't narcissism. This is addiction. It looks the same if somebody tells you they're not using substances at all and you don't know that. The difference is if they stop using substances and they seek a recovery process, you'll never see a narcissistic trait again. And so that's why I'm very cautious about that diagnosis. But with somebody like Corey Richins, who's she murdered Eric and now is trying to bring vengeance upon the world because they are exposing her, which is just the most narcissistic thing to do on the planet, right? It's like she doesn't realize that inherently is not a normal reaction to somebody accusing you of something, right? Is to try to destroy people that go against you.
True. So fundamental to every narcissist is someone that's extremely insecure, and being exposed is one of their biggest fears because they portray something to the world that they're not, and that exposure is such a huge fear. Now, you worked for a huge narcissist in Robin Quivers, and I don't blame her or anyone. A lot of it obviously stems from their childhood. Robin was sexually assaulted by her father, and she openly admitted to that in her book. Did you recognize the characteristics in Robin at that time, or were you not aware of even what a narcissist was?
Not even that. I just don't have enough interface. We didn't have enough interfacing personally with her to know that, right? Like those guys are so removed from the daily operations of what goes on in and around that studio. So I wouldn't rarely ever see her. She would like come in just for showtime, leave soon after, has their own like wing of an office that's very separate. So I wouldn't see her enough. Like all I would ever see is what you would see or what people would see publicly.
Why I bring that up is Robin Quivers worked for Howard Stern. Howard Stern obviously is a radio personality that Sam worked for. I would say about on par with Samantha's father in terms of royalty in the broadcasting industry. Yeah, I mean, Howard's a little bit higher, but your dad is up there. But the coolest thing about it was Dr. Drew came in and gave her a classic exam, and she scored off the charts.
Really?
And why I bring that up is the beauty of a narcissist is the way they develop the exams. They know how they're going to react, and they can't fail them, and they can't pass them. They can't trick it. It's just the way it's written. They know what a narcissist is going to answer for the most part, even if they're trying to trick the exam. Yeah, she scored way off the charts. And it was
That's
hilarious.
very funny. That's very funny. Yeah, I mean, it's tragic because what it means is that it's very predictable too. Like these poor kids, I think the judge really did the right thing because when you think about, these poor people that in 25 years have to start showing up to these parole hearings, worrying, oh my God, is my mom going to be back on the street? Am I going to have to deal with her again? So I thought he really did. He didn't have a choice in the end. She's such a menace. And I wanted to make sure that we mention this too, the fact that it turned out, and you got to give Bloodworth some credit for this because this really would have put her away forever right away just with this testimony, but he spared the kids. Her son, who she was using as an alibi to say was having night terrors and that's who she was with all night sleeping, turns out she wasn't with them, and he was prepared to testify that not only was she not with him, but that they went to bed early. They didn't get their bath time the way they normally would, so they were put to sleep early. He couldn't sleep, tried to go into the parents' room. The TV was up really loud. The door was locked, which was unusual. He then knew there was like a key up on top of the door, and so he tried to get a broomstick and go over and, get the key, and she heard him. And then he ran back to his room and jumped in bed. She came out to see what was going on, and he just pretended to be asleep. The other son then also tried to get in, and the door was locked. So that would have been like the end for her for sure. But that was, of course, testimony that didn't come in because he didn't want the kid to have to testify.
Did you ever walk in on your parents?
No.
My parents religiously would lock the door and shut it. They always kept the door every Friday night, like since I was a child. I make fun of them now, but
that's funny.
Thinking back, I had no idea why they would do that every single Friday. So they were very regular, my parents.
Yeah, it's very cute, actually.
It's
You're like
not
a little
cute,
kid.
it's disturbing.
It is disturbing, but it's cute as a kid, right? Like, why are they door locked?
I know.
But that is pretty damning evidence. I mean, that would be, I think any jury. See, my fear is, look, they're going to try to use the media to say that Corey Richards didn't get a fair trial. That's their goal. That's what they're telling us they're doing. The irony of that is, even if they succeed, the next time the jury is going to be tainted. They're not going to be able to get a fair jury. This jury actually really appeared to me to be trying to find a way not to convict her. When you heard them after the fact, they seemed like they were really fair. She's not going to get a fair jury the next time. And Bloodworth the next time is going to bring the son out. And she's even more likely to be found guilty the next time.
Alec Murdaugh's conviction was overturned.
Right.
And he must be someone that you could admire from what you do, knowing that he's lying, but he's trying to lie. And his testimony on cross-examination, Alex Murdaugh was convicted of shooting his wife and son in South Carolina. The conviction was overturned because someone that worked for the court was talking to the jurors, which is improper. If you're the prosecution, you probably shouldn't even fight this. You don't want to have your verdict tainted by someone that's literally talking to the jury. Like if you were on trial, you wouldn't want that. If your daughter was on trial, son, you wouldn't want that. So I wouldn't sweat it if I'm the prosecution. There's no way that he is really even going to get out of jail. He's also in jail for financial crimes. He was an attorney. He was stealing from his clients. So most likely he's in jail for the rest of his life anyway, but they're going to retry it. So it's going to be interesting to see. But who didn't see that coming? His last name is Murder, so they should have they should have known that eventually that would occur. And in that case too, it's interesting.
Go ahead.
It's very interesting because you only get better after you do the hard work. When you hear that there's telematics data in that case, that there's cell phone data, now we're so much more knowledgeable compared to what we were at the first. And that brings us back to David Unetti saying that in the first trial, we were 3 attorneys drinking from a fire hose. And I visualized that in my head, and it's funny to think about. But to this day, to this very minute, we're still uncovering different information about this trial, and we have not solved it completely yet. I saw the way Aiden and you reacted to what I was saying, like physically. You guys could see how angry you are at me, and that's okay. I wasn't doing it intentionally. I was doing it because that's my belief, but it's so important that you prove me wrong, meaning this is my philosophy, not the other way around. I don't look for people that only agree with me. I'd never say that we can block anyone. If I come on a show, that's usually the only thing I ask, besides 90% of the super chats, is I don't want anyone blocked for any reason. Obviously, if YouTube blocks, that's fine. But if they want to call my 12-year-old son ugly, let it go through. I don't care. I want to hear anything. And with regard to my theories and my times, I want to hear the opposite. I want you to prove it wrong. And when we're speaking about, let's say, Jen McCabe's heart rate, right? You know in your heart that that's an issue if you believe that she is guilty. So you should want and welcome my criticism of it, but also my evidence that I bring to you, and not get angry. But it's so hard not to. And I do the same thing. I get mad too. I felt it. I'm like, I got to get out of this conversation. I could just feel how angry Aiden and you were. And Miss Judy was watching the comments. She's like, oh, they're all bashing. I'm like, I'm okay with that. It's just like, I don't know what we're really there for. We're there for an hour. Should we be funny? Should we not be funny? Are we talking about specifics? But Aiden said something today. That 12 hours was a great watch. It wasn't just facts. It wasn't just comedy. And I love when he brings in, now I don't know the people, but who's the woman, Jessica
Machado?
Yeah, I don't know who she is, but I love her energy. I don't know what their history is, but even when she there's such a good mix in that video. And the 12 hours is tough to do. So I'm glad. So in terms of the money, he raised over $80,000 yesterday, right?
Yeah, it's
That's
very
insane.
Exciting. I know. Can you imagine that? You wake up with 0 and then you go to sleep that night with 80,000. That's pretty amazing. Pretty
I
good
think
day.
he would. I didn't understand the numbers he was saying because he wasn't saying them mathematically correct. He's like, all right, we had 3,500. So I don't understand, but I guess he started with 350,000.
Oh, okay. Is that what it was?
Yeah, because someone posted that they're over 400,000. I didn't think we'd raise that much in a day, but I guess he had started
It's a
this
fund.
before. I don't know. Yeah,
Okay,
right.
I see. Well, I see. Okay, so I didn't know that
Yeah.
either, but that made sense. That
What the
makes
hell
sense.
numbers was Aiden saying?
I don't know. That must have been what it was. Like it
I
must
know,
have been
but
a
that's not how you
fund.
say 340,000, 500,000. Like he was
I don't
saying
know.
three. I got to go back and see. I was like, what the hell? So I didn't,
know
in my
what he was
mind, I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on.
That was very funny. No, yeah, agreed. It was really entertaining. So much diversity in terms of. I think that's what this highlighted for me too. Was that all of us bring something very different to the table when it comes to the movement around what I'm now calling the Justice for John O'Keefe campaign. And one of the things that really jumped out, because the theme was really how these people are bringing an unjust case, whether it's the witness intimidation case or the civil action. And the fact that they are so willing, that they have to go to such absurd lengths, that they have to cut stuff from his shows and then reposition it so that it looks very different in terms of its intent. The fact that they have to take Yanetti's messages to Aiden in their text communications out of context and make it something that it's not. To me, that's so obviously indicative of people who are not only disingenuous, dishonest, but also guilty of something, right? Because if you can't stick to the facts, you can't tell the truth of the way something is, then, and you have to go and grab all this nonsense and then try to, evidence it as the way things really are. To me, that by itself is an admission of guilt in so many regards.
You're 100% right. That's why I get excited when you say that, oh, Jen McCabe's husband is some tech whiz and he was able to get in and manipulate data. That would be the biggest blessing that we could ever have. Because if you prove that, and that will be easy to prove that someone manipulated data, because there is source data at Apple that we can get to. Yeah, that's a huge indicator of obviously guilt. And if the Commonwealth is doing that in their presentation of evidence with regard to Aiden, admittedly, I don't know much about, then yeah, those are blessings, true blessings in disguise. And like I say, that's the theme for today. So do you want to talk about the Corey Richards? Do you want to get into the video? I think maybe
let's do the video, right? You want to do the video?
That's what I was gonna say.
Because I do want to get into that. And it's funny, I watched this before we went on. So this took us through to a certain point, but then there's something else I want to add at the end too, if I can find it. So let's get to the video. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Now, what percentage of that 80,000 did we get for our hour yesterday?
I have no idea. I tried to give money yesterday, actually, and I couldn't do it. I don't know if it was like being overused or whatever, the link. So I have to go back and add to it. But I couldn't. I tried a few times. Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah, speaking of diversity, I did see one black person on the screen at the end. So you are right.
Really? I missed that. What do you mean at the end? Like on Aiden's show?
Remember, because he had 12 different people. Actually, my friend Nick Ricada was on there. I don't know if you know him at all, but he's sort of from the Howard Stern world too.
Hold on a second. This might not be the right thing. This might be the wrong thing. This is the other thing that I wanted to show. Hold on. Add to stage. All right, here we go. I've got 3 different things pulled up here, so I want to make sure I get the right one. This is us, I think. Okay, here we go. I've been looking into Michael Jackson deception, and so you'll see on my feed all the Michael Jackson videos that are popping up. Here we go.
Sure.
Okay.
So you've known Bob for a while, and how did he come to get on the Reed defense team?
How did the two of you originally meet?
Yeah, David and I originally met on another case. There was a person who needed an attorney. It was an alleged domestic violence case. The person who was searching for the attorney just went on the internet and found David Yanetti's name. I knew that person pretty well, and I knew the person, sort of a high-profile person, who was accused of domestic violence.
Sam? Can you stop her for a second?
Hold on.
David would ask for my thoughts every once in a while.
And the theme of these things that we think are negative and eventually lead to a positive. There was a woman, and I'm doing research on this because the way we're figuring out how Bob Alessi, who I believe saved Karen Reed's life, came into this case was because he had a friend, a colleague, or some family member who apparently was this big-time scientist, maybe even expert. I don't know the identity of the person, but I'm piecing it together, that was overseeing a criminal case. And surprise, surprise, another female allegedly that was making a false allegation against her husband of domestic violence. Like, thank God that that woman made a false claim of domestic violence, right? That would connect David Yannetti and Alessi. And because of her, we now get eventually Alessi on the team, because during that trial, as you will hear, Yannetti wins, but then there's another case he talks to Alessi about. I don't know, this Karen Reed case. He's just bouncing ideas off of them. And that's how you bring Alessi in. And I said this before, but everyone needs to understand that Alessi comes from DLA Piper. That is a top 5, literally top 5 law firm. It's not like your average law firm. This is multi-billion-dollar law firms. They just bought another building, Sam, in Manhattan for, I think it was like $65 million the other day. So like these are like, and that's small change for them. And again, these things that we think are negative, a woman making a false allegation of domestic violence for which David Yannetti wins, brings us Alessi eventually to the case.
I know, it's pretty
I wasn't
amazing.
sure the connection. Remember, we've asked before about
Yeah, we have
I just
asked.
wanted,
Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, let's play it.
While I tried not to be the helicopter attorney on the matter.
Bob and I intersected on a district court case a few years ago. I didn't know what to make of him at first. You know, Melanie, I'm sure you've had cases referred to you, or cases where a client comes to you, but somebody in the client's family is a lawyer. The very first thing you think is, well, this is going to be fun. I'm going to have somebody looking over my shoulder. He's going to be a pain in the neck. He probably doesn't know criminal law. He's going to be telling me my job. And against my better judgment, I took the case anyway. Bob participated in the defense, but in a very reserved way. He was very respectful to me. I didn't know who he was. I just figured he like hung a shingle somewhere in Brooklyn or something. I didn't know that he was like the leading partner at one of the leading law firms in the world, whose hourly rate was like 5 times mine. I had no idea. I gained respect for him because it became a collaborative process. The trial went well. I almost felt like Bob was my co-counsel, and we became friends. And then during the first Karen Reed trial, there'd be, times when we'd come back from court, just give Bob a call and, run some ideas by him. He always had great ideas himself. And then, after the first trial with the hung jury, mainly because we had 3 lawyers the first time around, and we were still drinking from a fire hose. It was so much work. We were working 24/7 on the same case, and still we were tapped. We needed help. We recognized that. So I approached Bob, and, it's really a miracle that he got involved. He had to get, permission from his firm to do it pro bono. We brought him onto the team, and he handled, in my view, the toughest parts of the trial.
Morning, Dr. Welcher.
Good morning. We haven't been formally introduced. Your
This
whole
is
name?
brutal.
Robert Alessi, sir.
Robert Alessi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
But it's easy with David Yannetti. He is so fantastically skilled as an attorney in all regards. He's brilliant, and he's also one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet. And he's got Riz off the charts. And we just got along famously. He got a fabulous result. The jury was out for all of 1 hour and 45 minutes, came back with a not guilty on every count.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, thank God for her.
During that case, he said,
Absolutely. Yeah.
What does Riz mean? These guys know all these terms.
I think it means like charisma.
Okay.
I think that's what it means. And he does, right? He does. He does have something. There's something magnetic about David Yannetti. These guys, it makes me emotional when I see them. I don't know why, just because you go through it with so much intensity. These trials, you can't, it's right. It's like game 7 of the World Series for 2 months straight. And a woman's life is on the line. And these people are evil monsters who truly are responsible for the death of a police officer and a cover up. And you just want them to win so bad. And when you see them, it's emotional. I don't know how else to say it. It really is.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it because of all the Italians in the room? Or I'm almost crying here. Like when I think back of just like what could have been.
Yeah.
And I don't know who this woman is who made a false claim of domestic violence. And that's very similar to the Kone case where you and I took a lot of heat, but you in particular, because I'm used to it, your fans had no idea what to do with you because you were going against women. We're supposed to believe all women. Like I hate that phrase. Right, and I say that I'm in the Democratic Party, and when I hear that you believe a woman, no, not in a court of law. We get to test everyone, whether your genitalia is a vagina or a penis. You get tested, and that's the beauty of what's going on in this case and here as well. So,
yeah, I'm grateful though for that though, because I do feel like, in some way, just the fact that I was willing to just speak that, even though it was the unpopular opinion, I do feel like that can lend some credibility to cases where everybody just assumes that you're on the bandwagon because everybody else is, right? So I'm happy in that case. It was painful, but I'm happy that it happened because it sort of says, tests me. I was able to test myself in that case, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
and let's keep moving. So the next part we're going to talk about is Scandlin, and they're going to get into Scandlin.
I've got this other case I'm working on that's got some similar undertones, and it was just getting underway, and it was the Karen Reed case. So he started talking to me about it. So that's how I met David Yannetti.
Let me ask you something, David, about a guy by the name of Steve Scandlin. How did he first get in touch with you, and what did you guys talk about?
After the arraignment, when Karen was released on $50,000 cash bail, and my paralegal messages me and said that a guy named Mike has information about the Karen Reed case and he wants to only talk to me. Essentially, he said that the injuries don't match up. He wasn't hit by a car. You got to look at the people in the house. Brian Albert and his nephew are involved in this. And I can't remember if it was that conversation or the next one, but he mentioned like an ATF agent as well. Like he had information. I said, look, Mike, what's your last name? I want to talk to you. He said, Lynch. By the end, I was like, can we meet? And he goes, well, Dave, my name's not Mike Lynch. I give you a fake name. I don't want to really get involved. He's given us information. It's not actionable. There's nothing we can do. Although it made me very interested to talk to Brian Albert and finding out who his nephew was. Brian Albert's name was listed as B. Albert in the police report. It was like they put the wrong address of Fairview. It just was like they're trying to keep him out of this, and I want to know why. Scandlin or Mike disappeared for a period of time. The only reason he resurfaced, he didn't call me. I called him because after that day, I got a request from Steve Scandlin, who wanted to act as an investigator. My investigator set up a meeting with Lucky Loughran at Canton to go along his route with me. And I showed up there on a Saturday or a Sunday. The lot was empty. We waited. Lucky never showed up. And he never called, never texted, wasn't answering his texts. And so it was just like roadblock after roadblock. And I remember sitting with Paul Makowski and saying, this sucks. And it just occurred to me that I'm going to take a chance to call Steve Scandlin back, because I never responded to his inquiry about being an investigator because I thought he might have been the Mike. And I called him back and he said, Dave, this isn't the first time we've talked. And I got chills. And he admitted that he was Mike. And then ultimately, we had him in the office. He got cold feet. He definitely redirected the course of the case. He played a role, even though he ultimately wouldn't stand up and ultimately say what he had told me. And I know he's been deposed, and I am very much hoping that his deposition's released.
When I talked to Scandlin, he was very evasive. He kissed my ass a little bit. He seemed like he wanted to get involved, but not too involved. He said, you're in the right direction. Keep going. I asked him, and he had no answer for this. I said, I go, why did you go to them if you didn't think something was up? He goes, it was just a hunch. He goes, the injuries didn't add up. I go, hold on. How did you know what the injuries were on February 2nd, 2022 when you called them? Because the autopsy photos weren't out. You hadn't seen the autopsy photos then, had you?
Yeah.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah.
So how could he know what the injuries were on
It's okay. So this was another thing that I was catching heat for with regard to the Scandlin issue. And actually, Turtle Boy asks David, how did Scandlin potentially know? And he's saying it's February 2nd after the arraignment. He gets a call. And I think I have the answer to that. And I think that will show us a little bit after. But again, here's another broken road. I think the line that from the country, God bless the broken road that led me straight to you. Basically, every guy that you dated that you thought was so great and he breaks up with you, that needs to happen in order for you to meet the one that you really, truly love in the end. That's the theory of the song. And there are a lot of broken roads here. We see that Lucky doesn't show up for a meeting, and that caused David to call Scandlin, right? And Scandlin, again, has made a mistake with regard to what actually occurred. I believe he's speculating, and I think I have support for that. But that's another broken road that's leading us to the answer, because as David's saying, if he never did that, David probably never would even consider that. And I don't even think Karen would have even considered
That's
that,
right.
Right? So
Yeah.
you need these broken roads in life to lead us to the correct answer. And it's so apparent in what we heard yesterday with regard to how this all started.
Yeah, Scandlin is a hero, whether it's because of speculation and a gut instinct or what. But he changed everything. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Okay, let's play it.
February 2nd,
Yeah, I mean, you're making my point. It was like things were not adding up at an early juncture in this case.
The troopers then proceeded to the Good Samaritan Hospital to view the victim. They observed approximately 6 bloodied lacerations varying in length on his right arm.
So how could he know what the injuries were on February 2nd?
Yeah, I mean, the cuts extending from his forearm to his bicep.
Why he
Both of the
reached
victim's
out.
eyes were swollen shut and black and blue. They observed a cut to the right eyelid area of the victim. The troopers attended the autopsy of Mr. O'Keefe at the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. The doctor advised of several abrasions to the right forearm, 2 swollen black eyes, a small cut above the right eye, a cut to the left side of his nose, approximately 2-inch laceration to the back of his head.
So wait a minute. So it turns out, actually, what may have happened here is the reason why he reached out was because of the injuries, the way that they were read out by Lally here during the arraignment. That actually could have been what inspired him to reach out.
Oh, yeah. If these dates and everything I'm saying is correct, I always leave that caveat. I just want people to prove me wrong if I'm wrong here.
Could be.
David definitely said after he got back from the arraignment, this is the arraignment on February 2nd that he refers to, and then he gets back and he gets that initial call from Scandlin, although he's using a fake name. And then also, I don't know if you heard there, but it sounded like Scandlin was trying to be employed, make money off of this by becoming the investigator. I don't know if that was his theory. But if you heard those injuries right there, yeah, it sounds like someone got beat. And Melanie Little made a great point yesterday when she said that I did auto accident cases for 30 years. They are very similar with regard to the injuries. There's not that type of injury on John. And it's true. I mean, I've done them too. When I first started, I used to do them. So yeah, you never see black eyes as if you were in a fight and no broken bones from the neck down from this type of auto accident.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's exactly right. Melanie, that was what made her so sure. And I think that's and of course she explained in that interview yesterday or with Aiden and Yannetti that her husband or ex-husband was from Norfolk County and had trauma from dealing with the corrupt police. Yeah, I mean, it was also being from Massachusetts that attracted me to this case eventually once I learned about it, right? So I get that. But yeah, she was huge. And the Garrett Wing interview, I appreciated that they give her that credit too, because Melanie is how I learned to this case. She's the entire first trial. By the second trial, I feel like a lot of information. And so I needed to just get through each day's events quickly. I didn't want the stopping and the analysis as much as I did in the first case, but through the first trial, I listened to her religiously every single day without fail.
Yeah, she's really good.
She is.
I think that the only reason why I got into this was the misspelling of how, because like you saw how HOS.
House.
Like, what are they trying to do here? In fact, a lot of the YouTube creators would tell you to misspell words on purpose so that people interact with your videos. At least this was advice from like 10 years ago.
Oh, that's
so if you
funny.
but I remember seeing the word HOS and thinking, how can they spell this wrong? What does this even mean? And for whatever that reason is how I got into this particular trial.
Interesting. I want to play a little bit after this clip. I want to play a little bit more of this. I had it geared up to go, and then I switched out the link. So now I have to find it again. So but I will add it anyway. Because same conversation about Scandlin, but now we're getting into specifics about the nephew that I think are interesting and important. Also, I should tell you, full disclosure, I am right now investigating Colin specifically, right? So I'm also very interested in this because this is where my head is at largely broadly anyway. Because it's a really, well, let me play it. Let me bring it up.
And yesterday when we were on, Aiden played a few fight videos.
Yeah, those were hilarious. I haven't seen all them. Of course, one of them was with the black kid. I was like, oh yeah, well, that's surprise. I
don't think it was a racial thing. That one,
well, but
I remember watching was probably the most realistic, if it was even real. But I don't believe he had the means to knock out John at the time.
Okay, hold on a second.
Has information about the Karen Reed case, and he wants to only talk to me. All right,
let me forward through this. Hold on.
So things were not. I want to hear if, under oath, he's contradicted anything that I've. There's nothing we can do. Although it made me very interested to talk to Brian Albert and finding out who his nephew was. Which, again, is part of the reason why we wanted the press involved here, because the DA's office had, not really interviewed these people. As you later found out, they kind of brought them all together and let them all talk. Brian Albert's name was listed as B. Albert in the police report. It was like they put the wrong address of Fairview. It just was like they're trying to keep him out of this, and I want to know why. Scandlin or Mike disappeared for a period of time. The only reason he resurfaced, he didn't call me. I called him because after that day, I got I don't know if it was Facebook or LinkedIn. I got a request from Steve Scandlin, who wanted to act as an investigator. I think that he may have contacted Karen. I think that's true, but I can't remember completely. But, we had found Lucky Loughran after, a week or two. The prosecution had never talked to him. And I was like, this is, golden. This is consistent with what that tipster said. There was no body on the lawn when there would have had to be if Karen had hit him. And
trying
so
to find
my investigator set up a meeting with
You're
Lucky
looking
Loughran,
for the reference to Colin?
at Canton to go along his route with me. And I showed up there on a Saturday or a Sunday. The lot was empty. And we waited. Lucky never showed up. And he never called, never texted. I want to hear if, under oath, he's contradicted anything that I've said.
It's got to be after this.
So to the extent that anybody has any inkling to release that, I call for the release of that.
Yeah, it's because I always said this with him, because he's, he told you, first of all, a couple things. He said nephew and ATF agent, so he didn't say Colin or Brian Higgins.
No, he didn't say the name Colin. I think in one hearing I said Brian Albert and
here it is, I think.
Colin Albert. Though that didn't come from Steve Scandlin. That was my inference because I didn't know who Brian Albert's nephew was. But I later found out.
But for him to say ATF agent, that's specific information. That how would he know that? How would he know Brian Higgins was there, which adds legitimacy to the things that are saying. And when I talked to Scandlin, he was very evasive. He kissed my ass a little bit, but he seemed like he wanted to get involved, but not too involved. And he said, "You're in the right direction. Keep going," and all this stuff. But I asked him, and he had no answer for this. I said, "How?" I go, "Why did you go to them if you didn't think something was up?" He goes, "It was just a hunch." He goes, "The injuries didn't add up." I go, "Hold on. How did
Sorry,
you know
guys. I
really
want to get to this one
2nd,
part.
2022, when you called them, because the autopsy photos weren't out. You hadn't seen the autopsy photos then, had you?
No. Oh God, no.
So how could he know what the injuries were on February 2nd?
Yeah, I mean, you're making my point. It was like things were not adding up at an early juncture in this case. You know, the spotlight that you ultimately shone on this case was crucial.
Yeah.
But Aiden, that's why I'm here today.
Thank you.
That's why I'm here. I'm here
This
because
is a nice moment.
at a point in time when
It is.
we needed help, you stepped up and provided that help. You know, not every crazy thing that you're doing out there do I say, well, geez, I'm with Aiden. I know my mother and sister are huge fans, and my mother says sometimes I have to turn the sound down because I just can't.
My mom said that too. Yeah.
But you know, I never forget somebody that's done me a solid, and you did us a major solid that changed the direction of the case. So
and reporting the truth.
I'll never forget
this is it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. I'll never forget it. Never forget. And by the way, this is supposed to be my hostage video, right? I'm supposed to have like a blindfold on, and you're supposed to have a gun to my neck. I'm going to release text messages. I could really care less about any of that stuff. I am not ashamed or embarrassed about anything. I mean, I'd prefer that maybe some of the colorful language that I said in private remained private, so that, you know, kids weren't exposed to it. But you know, this
Just
was
like your dad.
In my view, you were invested in the truth, like Melanie was invested in the truth, like we were invested in the truth.
Here it is. This is
and we were
good.
all rowing in the same
Here we go.
direction just to uncover the truth.
Yeah. This is what made me emotional when he says this.
And we all were. It's like there was nothing nefarious about what any of us were doing. We all, and it's not just about Karen Reed. It's about John O'Keefe. Okay, John O'Keefe was a human being who I'd never met before, who was left in the cold to die, and who deserves answers. He deserves a thorough investigation. He didn't get that. He was treated like a vagrant found on the street would get a more thorough investigation than John O'Keefe got. And it's outrageous. And like I said, Colin Albert wasn't even interviewed by the police until 18 months afterwards, and only in regards to witness intimidation. They just wanted to talk to him about me, not what happened that night, you know. And
well, you know, what's interesting is that his name was never in any report. We were turned on to him by Scandlin, or turned on to the nephew by Scandlin, and then had information that Colin and John had a beef, and it was kind of like it was all fitting together. And I sent a letter to Lally telling him that he should put Brian Albert and Brian Higgins and Colin Albert in the grand jury. And he told me, look, Brian Albert and Brian Higgins, yeah, I'm definitely putting them in. But why would I put in Colin Albert? He wasn't even there that night.
You told Lally this. You told Lally this.
In writing.
Wow.
In writing.
Wow.
Prior to indictment, okay?
Wow.
His name was not in any report. And he asked me why, and I wouldn't tell him. I just said, you need to question him. And then, you know, the indictments came down. We saw the transcripts. And for the first time, multiple people admitted that Colin was in the house that night. That was the first time.
Okay, so that is what I wanted to. That's what I wanted to mention, right? Because
that's a huge thing. I'm glad you actually played that, because I have a hard emotion to what was just said. But go ahead, tell us.
No, I mean, right? Me too.
Well, yours is different than mine, and again, there's broken roads that we have to go down to get to the truth. And there was a huge positive to this. Sounds like a flaky type guy speculating from the grandstand there, getting all the information about what happened to John via Lally telling him the injuries, and then coming up and trying to probably get work from Yannetti. I believe that's probably.
But how could you? I mean, why would you speculate at random that Brian Albert, his nephew, and an ATF agent were the ones responsible?
We have to be careful with that speculation. That's not what Yannetti confirmed. Like he had a few interactions with Scandlin throughout different times. So we're just talking about the injuries straight away. He got a call after the arraignment saying that those injuries don't sound like something that is a car accident. We don't know in that initial call if he mentions anybody. So I don't want to say that he mentioned Colin or the ATF agent at that initial call.
I think the initial call he does. He says you got to look at the homeowner and his nephew. Those were the exact words.
Right, but like there's again, I need to see it. Like we can assume it for just speculative purposes, but this is why I went back and found that video because if this guy had some inside information, it would be great, right? If someone told him it, but it sounds like we're going to get from this deposition of Scandlin that he was just speculating based upon what he heard publicly, public knowledge. Now, I would speculate the same thing. Obviously, we know a lot more, but if you heard just those injuries, what's the harm in saying that doesn't sound like a car accident, right? Black eyes and a car accident, unless you hit in the face with it. But I want to get back to the Colin aspect and why I get so angry. I mean, David, he's sitting there telling us that I'm the one who told Lally about Colin. Colin had a motive because he had this beef with John.
Colin did have a beef with John, though.
There's no evidence of that.
There's lots of evidence of it confirmed by Colin.
Well, he never confirmed it.
No, but he does confirm it. I mean, this is the problem, though. Like, you can be in denial as much as you want about this, but these people systematically have confirmed with their testimony. You got to go back. It's not, and you can't just look, what I've learned with this game, I've been doing this almost every day for at least a year. And what I've learned is you got to go through, and it is monotonous. It sucks. It takes an enormous amount of time. You got to go back and listen to Julie Albert and all her crap. You got to go back and listen to Chris and all his crap. You got to go back and listen to Colin. And part of the reason why this takes so long is because I don't want to do that 90% of the time. I don't want to. I fight it. I resist it. But you have to, because just the only way to get to what really happened here. That's the only way that I have to tell you, the one part of every testimony that I would fast forward through for the last 2 years is the part, or all the parts from the first trial about Julie's brother. Every single time I heard about Julie's brother, I would tune out and fast forward through it, which now in retrospect is so unbelievable to me, because that is the one period of time that had I spent from the beginning just listening carefully, I might have been able to see what had happened to John much more quickly.
Yeah.
Right?
Think about it. Like, we narrowed the scope of the time, 12:24 and 30 seconds to, I'm even keeping 12:33, right? That's not a lot of time. Then you have independent people literally in a car in front of the house. So if you're saying that he went in the house, there's great proof that he went in the house because you have someone sitting in a car. You would see the front lawn, right? The girl in the back, Ricky, and even they would see what's going on if there's a fight on the front lawn. Even my theory that it's on the side is less plausible because there's a car within that little scope of time for which this murder occurred.
And
so
Karen,
it's huge.
Karen's out
Karen
there too.
Yeah. And that brings me back to this point. Why is David so amped on trying to figure out some motive with little Colin Albert when his client is having an affair with one of the 10 people that's in the fucking house?
Well, I don't think he knew that at the time, though.
Well, that's my point, and that's why everyone yelled at me initially. I didn't understand why why you girls were so mad at Karen for this. But you're looking to find this motive on little Colin Albert, and I see him fighting like this. He doesn't even have the means to hurt John at that age.
Nobody, I have no desire. I have to be very clear. The only reason that I would happily take Colin off the table. The problem is their testimony prohibits that from happening. It's not coming from nowhere. I'm not arbitrarily pulling this kid out of a hat because of anything Scandlin said, Yannetti said, or anybody else on planet Earth said, except for the people in that house. The problem is them. Over and over again, and from my perspective, because basically everything I believe in this case has come directly from the mouths of the people that were in that house or around that house on the time in question. And Colin, I cannot eliminate him. I can't.
That's fine. I mean, and you have to acknowledge the fact that because of Scandlin's and whomever's initial theory that Colin was involved, you're holding on to him. Karen has let it go, by the way. She's let it go completely.
I'm not holding on to him for that reason.
You are. She let it go. Her attorneys let it go.
Karen's making a mistake, and so are you. You can't just ignore evidence. You say it all the time. You want to ignore evidence, but they are systematically lying. And if you go back, because you don't want to do it, nobody wants to do it, I get that. But if you go back and you watch mom and dad's testimony, their timeline it crumbles. It's impossible, according to their testimony, for Colin to have been there before 12:35.
Agreed. But what we've seen, and we've had evidence that he left before John and Karen got
There's
there.
No
at
evidence of
12:24.
that. The screenshots
There is. You
are
can't say no.
completely invalid.
They're not invalid. Those are screenshots.
You're insane, Vince. This is crazy. If it was
No,
any
I
other
know
case
that-
on the planet, you would be like, well, why are we not seeing metadata? But you instead elect to. I could make that. I bet you tonight, if I right now put a clock on my little thing, went on my editing software, I could make you exactly a screenshot that looks just like that, and you would pass, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
I 100% agree. When I first saw that, I said, "This is so fucking fake." I agree.
It's absurd.
We're talking about the screenshots of the text messages,
yes,
proving that little Colin Albert was picked up at approximately 12:15.
Right.
I agree. Now, I did the research. I don't know. I think I did a video on this because I had someone that actually works at one of these companies do it for me and tell me how this is real or fake. And there's different points, and the way you print out text messages for whatever reason on a PDF, it comes out and it looks just like that. But if you manipulate it, then things won't be lined up. Now, if you're just basing your conclusion on the text messages and their veracity, then there is source data. Yeah, it would be great to have the exact source data, but it's out there. I mean, you can get it now. There's discovery, right? So,
well, no, because they never turned it over.
But it's somewhere. It doesn't just disappear. These went through carriers, right? So like there's actual source data at the company.
There should be. I mean, we would hope so.
And would it surprise you if a government agency has already found that and has already concluded that he has nothing to do with it, and that's the reason why Karen Reed has let it go?
I have to tell you, I can't.
Has not sued him.
Then they're wrong because their testimony.
Well, that's not fair.
No, it is fair because the testimony in this case is clearly articulating a different story. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, the people in the house are so dishonest about Colin. I wish it wasn't that way. Like, the dishonesty is extreme.
So when you talk about Colin, and I don't disagree that the fact that you had someone other than, Brian Higgins that potentially had the means, right? He's physically able to throw a punch.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Because you have to have means, motive, and opportunity. Now, the opportunity is where if he's not there, you would agree, then he can't be the murderer, right? If he left at 12:15.
Yes.
Or at any time before they got there, 12:24 and 36 seconds.
Right.
He can't be the murderer, right?
But he was there.
All right, fine. But I'm just saying, at least we're agreeing on just fundamentals.
Fundamentals. Yeah.
Right.
And fundamentally, I don't know, and I want to be clear about this. I don't know what his role was in the action of hurting John, and I'm not sold 100% on that. What I can tell you is that he's in the house. I don't know whether or not he was involved directly in the death of John, because they're conflated in my mind. But I am sure he was there. That's the part I can be sure about.
And I get that because you were never told he was there in any reports, and then all of a sudden people are telling you that he's there. So I do, you know what, I will go back and figure out like what everyone says with regard to little Colin Albert leaving, right? Because I know for certain that Nicole gives us analysis and Colin tells us, and we have Allie that's picking up, she tells them, but I don't know about, actually I do, Julie Nagel does say something with regard to Colin.
Julie Nagel says he's gone at 11:30.
Oh, forget that. She's all over the place.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'll go back. So I don't want to speculate about it, but agreed that if, he was there, then does he have the means to do it? An 11th grader, potentially, if he's not looking. But I don't buy any type of motive whatsoever.
No. I don't know that there'd be a motive. Like, I don't want to take Brian Higgins off the hook. I want to be very clear. I'm not suggesting that, like, Colin is the sole person responsible for the death of John O'Keefe. Could it have been a situation where him and Brian are fighting and, Chloe, Brian, Colin, and somebody gets pushed? Fine. That's more along the lines of what I'm in my head configuring. It's just that he would have been somebody who might have jumped in if that was going on, and that maybe didn't help the matter.
You know, it's a good point, because Colin would probably defend John. He doesn't know who Brian Higgins is.
He would just defend his dad or his uncle.
His dad's not there, and his uncle probably isn't there. Yeah. Again, if it's just Higgins and John fighting, Colin's 11th grade leaving in the cold of winter out of a house. If he gets involved in these two guys fighting, you see how we waste, and I'll say waste time, but we're distracted when ultimately the full force should have been on the one person that had the means, motive, and opportunity, that was having an affair, that ghosted John, and then that text John at 12:20. That's only 5 minutes before our framework and our time limit. It wasn't little Colin Albert that was in love with Karen. It wasn't little Colin Albert that was sexting with John for all these months and then ghosts John and sees him at the bar.
I'm with you.
This has nothing to do with little Colin Albert. Yet we still seem to focus on him for some reason.
And I just told you why. Because when
I get it. I want to go back and see. I will. Right. I will. I'll keep an open mind with regard to him.
That's the problem. So the problem is, I think that they had, and this is what I'm trying to suss out with my current focus on Colin, did they get into trouble because essentially Proctor tries to write him out of the house as a solid to his friends, the Alberts, and it just wants to keep Colin safe, right? And say he knows he's there, but he's like, he wasn't there at the time of the crime, so who cares? So I think they tried to initially write all the kids out of the house, not just Colin, to be fair to the Alberts. I think they tried to write Caitlin and all of them as much as they could.
How do you know that?
How do I know which of those things?
The kids part.
Because in the very first series of interviews that Michael Proctor gives, none of the kids are mentioned.
Gotcha. All right.
None of them.
Because it does make sense that he could cover for Colin, because he has a relationship with Colin.
Right.
And the cover could be either legitimate, meaning that there is no real need to mention him if he technically left at 12:15. He wasn't in the house after, right? So he's not of any value, really, whatsoever, unless maybe Higgins is pacing around, which I don't think is going to happen until 12,
but they don't even
18.
tell. I mean, I don't even think Proctor knows he's there. I'm not sure that Proctor even knew he was there earlier at that point. I don't know at what point Michael Proctor discovers that he had been there at all.
Yeah.
Because the initial story is he wasn't there at all. Then, but the thank you gift, like I want to buy him a gift. That's what the gift was for. The gift was for leaving him out of the report. And again, from there, so these people, think of it this way. These people are trying to put themselves forth as innocent human beings. Michael Proctor, of course, believes them. The chief of police is going out of his way. These are upstanding citizens. Remove Brian Albert's name from anywhere that they see it, reaching out to people on Facebook to get rid of Brian Albert's name, not putting in reports, not putting Brian Higgins' name in reports, the whole thing, right? So I think the Massachusetts State Police just they just thought Karen was guilty and they just ran with it because they're morons and they did no investigation. That's kind of the point. They didn't actually investigate the claims the people in the house made. They just went with it, right? And then Karen's team starts getting, investigating and figuring out that some of what is being said is different from what is in these reports. So then the cops are going back 18 months later, 2 years later, to try to get information after the fact. And that's kind of how a lot of this happened.
Right, because if you were told initially that he was in the house and that he left at 12:15, probably there wouldn't be so much issue. But the fact that you uncover the fact that he was in the house, right, that's a huge issue for everyone, right? Because I wasn't around at that time, but I would imagine that, oh my God, Colin was in the house.
And they're lying, right.
Fine, but I keep going back to, but for the past 18 months, was Karen being honest about what the real issue was?
It's not an either or for me, though. It's both. It's a both and there's
it isn't an either or. It isn't. You're right. Like, even if she was dishonest, that doesn't mean that Colin couldn't have done this
or couldn't have been involved, right? Like, couldn't have just been involved.
No, I know.
He might have done something as stupid as grab Chloe. Like, he may have just not done anything besides be involved. You know what I'm saying? Like. I do believe that if Brian Higgins did not exist, there would be no fight. John would be alive. Period. Full stop.
Yeah.
That's the end of the discussion, right? Like, this happened because of Brian Higgins. I have no doubt in my mind. The you coming here obstruction was the biggest tell you could ever get. Like when we realized that a couple of weeks ago, which is shocking that we just all discovered that a few weeks ago, like how we just all discovered that. But the fact that this man is standing up in court, where are you? Are you coming here? Literally, he's got the text in his hands and he's reading it incorrectly. That was like the hugest lightning bolt. And then to see Sergio 2 years before any of this, knows nothing about anything.
It's crazy.
At that exact moment, he's like, oh, this is the time of the crime. It's like, what? What do you mean? And then you start like Julie Nagel and then Brian Nagel, and to see Ryan Nagel is freaking lying about the 2 minutes because there was a follow-up text. She wasn't coming out right away. It was taking longer than, he did say, what the hell, I'm going to leave, right? So he was out there for 5 minutes. So there was time, and that's the point. He's lying because he doesn't want to give that time. Whether or not he thinks that he's covering up a murder or whether or not he thinks his sister's innocent and he's helping an innocent person, we don't know and we can't say. Because we don't know whether or not that group made a death pact on that night. They may have. It may be the case that nobody else knows.
That is true. You're 100% right with that, and I didn't appreciate that going into this. I'm like, there's no way Levinson with Sarah's going to actually lie, but she is lying about certain things, right?
100%.
It's just a matter of does she have the capability of doing it? And yeah, so that's why like Heather Maxson being out there as probably the only real innocent bystander, maybe Ricky too. Yeah, it's a critical time. Anyone within that scope of time. I mean, I guess technically they had the opportunity to kill John. Actually, they did.
Oh, the people outside, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, like, no, you actually need to be within arm's length. I always say you have to literally have been able to touch John. So anyone had to be, that eliminates you, eliminates me. Almost everyone on this earth was not in the vicinity that you had to be. It had to be arm's length within John. That's what makes this case very simple. And there's only one person with the fucking motive. Brian Albert doesn't want to kill John. You see him at the bar. Like, what benefit in a million years would Brian Albert want to kill John?
No. There's no desire to. I don't think Brian Higgins wanted to kill John.
He was angry, though. I mean, he has a motive in his mind. It's biological, obviously.
Yeah,
right?
but I think actually, I don't know if you saw this, but so I went through, this was very, very recent. It was actually after, I don't know if it was our last show or the one before that, but I went through and I was analyzing our show and our analysis of the waterfall. And I realized that as the night goes on, John is paying more attention to Brian Albert, more attention to Chris Albert.
Yes.
He's ignoring Brian Higgins.
Yes.
Even before the you coming here, not the you coming here, the well text, which makes me think that maybe Brian Higgins was pissed at John because of the fact that he was snubbed by John, not by Karen as much. Because if you think about it, like he expects Karen is at the bar with John, like she's not gonna, come over and start making out with him. Like you had said that before. He knew that. But the way that, like, he didn't even come over after he does the initial hello, he doesn't even go near him.
Right. But that initial hello is important because it is very frank. Like, I've been in all these situations. I've been in situations where I'm having an affair and the person that the spouse is there is younger, way before I was married, at a bar where, this isn't a ballsy move. This is what happens. And this is what I love about Sergio, because Sergio has this life experience, right? Like, he was the one that was saying, if you've ever flirted with a girl, you don't need to talk. And it's so fucking true.
Oh,
like,
of course.
Especially if the spouse is in the room. And texting the girl, Karen, with the spouse is not uncommon to me. Like, it's not unheard of. I don't know in your personal, right? Like, that's what an affair is. You're hiding it.
Right.
But, and I sort of understand why Karen was so confused potentially, because they've been able to get away with this all the time. She's been doing this for the past few weeks.
Yes, I see what you're saying. Go ahead.
I've been in this environment. Oh, I was thinking about this though. The only other time, the time that they kissed was at a house. It wasn't at a bar. I don't know if Karen had some hesitation going into this house because there really is no way to escape mentally, physically. Was her real hesitation for not going in because Brian Higgins was in the house?
I mean, certainly it could be.
Yeah.
I think that's the question that I'm reluctant to ask, right? I mean,
we all are, right? Because I catch a lot of heat. Like, if I want to ask that for David. Like, how did you miss that? The real question is, how did you miss this, right?
Well,
now, he's going through a lot, like they're saying, like, that's so much. It's so easy for us to sit here and say, how did you miss this, right? I always preface all this with that. But at a certain point, you got to realize that there aren't many people, and your client was having an affair with one of the 10.
Mm-hmm.
That's your suspect. I mean, most likely that's a killer without even having to do anything else.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little shocking, right? I mean, and you look at the timing of the "you coming here" text. I mean, that was the other thing, right? It's like, here it is. This guy is trying to get them to the house. The language of the text, with the exclamation points or whatever, is very threatening. They didn't look at the waterfall video to really examine frame by frame what was going on before they walked out. And I don't, like you said, I'm not blaming them. I really am not. I understand. And especially if you have a defendant, if your client is trying not to look at that herself, then she doesn't want you to look at that, right? At a certain point, you kind of have no choice, but you're right. They were already kind of down the third party culprit. They were already like down the Brian Albert and Colin Albert path at that point, pretty far.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I want to criticize them, but I don't, only because you had to go through what they had to go through.
Absolutely.
And everything that they were getting thrown at. And that's why I say back to Alessi coming in, not so much to solve the case, but to take on the real hard witnesses, right? That frees up time. That's exactly what David said yesterday. And as an attorney at a small firm, that's huge, because then you can focus on who you really need to focus on and at a much higher level.
Right, because the experts, actually, David Yannetti, he did a tremendous job. I think it probably doesn't get anywhere near the credit it deserves. But when I examined the taillight, he does a tremendous job doing a cross-examination of the woman who reconstructed the taillight. There's one piece missing from the taillight reconstruction. And it's hilarious, though. It's the best cross-examination from David Yannetti. So you could see that he really was prepared. And if we had had a Brian Albert, that would have been an awesome cross-examination, certainly, because he was so prepared. But they were given so many. I mean, look, in retrospect, like the Julie Nagel testimony, like he had her on the ropes. He didn't know it, but there's a whole point. She is so Vince, if you got to go back and watch, like she's a different person. She all of a sudden becomes a lineman. Literally her physical posture, she's defending. Like she is literally a defensive end, right? Like on the witness stand.
Before? She wasn't the quarterback before.
Well, she's relaxed. She's like, she's like normal, right? When Yannetti gets up and he gets close to the time of the crime, he gets close. He's like, Ryan Nagel's out front. He's asking her questions, and the look on her face is a combination of terror and anger, like she wants to kill him. She's as defended as you could possibly be. And she's denying, it's so critical. She's denying that she had made up her mind to leave before she walks out that door. She's fully denying it. Now, that's so interesting, right? Because when you stop and you think about it, right, it's like, oh, well, okay, why are you telling me that you didn't make up your mind when we've heard from witness after witness so far that you guys had already talked about it before you walked out the door, right? So in other words, it all happened very fast, right? And it did. Whatever happened to John happened very, very fast. I'm certain under 30 seconds. And it was as they're leaving. And if you look at their testimony, Sarah tells us, like, they were in the action of leaving physically when this happened. So it's just fascinating, the whole thing.
Yeah, that's true.
And so if they had it in their mind, if they had sort of what we know now, of course, so far after the fact, I feel like they would have been able to really push on people like Sarah Levinson and Julie Nagel.
Yep. And again, I have to keep saying this, that we have the huge benefit of sitting in our offices 2 years out with no pressure of getting somebody off.
Of course. Yeah. No, I'm not putting them down in any way.
They're
my
heroes.
heroes.
I'm getting yelled at.
I know. We're doing it. Okay. So Chastity 73 gifted 5 memberships. That's amazing. Wow. Thank you so much, Chastity, and welcome our new members. Definitely check out our membership benefits. There's 2 huge courses that are outstanding and so helpful. So definitely take a look. At Otto1630 sends $10. Make sure Vince's share goes to TVs. Will do, Otto, without a doubt. As I said, I was so upset yesterday because I tried to give money and I wasn't able to. I got to figure that out. Maybe he'll give me his Venmo thing or whatever. At your dad's favorite mom sends $9.99. Yesterday, brother counsel said Hank told other lawyers he believed Karen was guilty. He also said he believes Whitey Bulger wasn't an FBI informant. His ability to read a situation has always been off. Apparently.
Well, everyone loved Hank when he had that subsequent trial, right? That got
the Whitey
acquittal.
Bulger one?
No, not the Whitey Bulger. After the Karen Reed case, he represented a woman that was being abused by, I believe, a spouse that she ended up killing or just stabbing, and he won an acquittal for her. You don't remember that? Everyone loved Hank for a little bit.
I saw it. I didn't know what it was. I wasn't paying attention at all.
Well, I had said that he was by far the best trial attorney in that room between Lally and him. I think I would go with Hank.
Yeah. Hank is, if my life was on the line and I had to pick between the two of them, I think there's no question I would pick Hank Brennan, for better or for worse. Lally is a better snake, though, without a doubt, because of his, I think the two people that might have, in the end, shockingly won the case, well, essentially got the mistrial, were Adam Lally and Trooper Joseph Paul, because they are these two like unassuming figures who you feel bad for. And when you have these big bad New York, or not New York in this case, California, Alan Jackson attorneys who are coming in. So apparently, and you guys don't know this, I only know this because my sister met them and was around them. Karen's legal team are wafted in cologne and perfume, really strong. And it's a very small courtroom and they're dressed to the nines. And so when they turn the corner, even outside, like even in Canton outside during the lunchtime, if you happen to be around the courthouse and they were eating lunch, you might see them. So my sister did on a random day. It wasn't, verdict day. And you could smell them before you can see them. And so in this tiny little courtroom, like they're wafted in cologne. They just exude their like dominance in the room, and then you have Adam Lally who reeks of cigarettes, right? And he's like humny hum, like Charlie Brown walking in the room. And I do think that in combination with staring at the O'Keefe family and feeling bad for them, that is ultimately what created a mistrial for the first trial.
Yeah,
tragically.
And obviously all the different paths that were going down that weren't really solidified. No one had a right to even start with a third party, not knowing all these facts and not realizing who the true killer was, and really expanding on that. If you're going to go, you're having Julie Albert up there. I mean, what purpose could she really serve? I don't know.
Oh, it was great. Are you kidding me? I'm so thankful for Adam Lally. Thank God for Adam Lally, because his whole thing was to drag everybody in the kitchen sink, because he thought, he pretended to believe that they were telling the truth. I have to believe now, in retrospect, he's very clear that they're not, based on the fact that he had to switch every question he asked depending on who the witness was. He had to believe by the end that they were lying. But I think at the beginning, he started out believing that they were telling the truth.
Agreed. And Larry just doesn't care. Like,
right.
I win or I lose. My life goes right the fuck on. That's the beauty of a government employee attorney. It just doesn't matter.
Is that true? They just make like an hourly wage one way or the other?
Whatever it is. It doesn't make a difference if you win or lose. No one even cares. It's a very fun attitude to be in. It's just an environment. It's just very calm.
That's interesting, right? Because you don't have to, it doesn't feel as high stakes.
It doesn't matter. The rent's going to be paid, and we're all going to be paid. We don't get any more, any less, win or lose. It's great.
That's crazy. At Gene Campbell 8966 and $4.99. Who did we think threw the first punch, John or Higgy Bear? That's a really good question.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. Before I knew much about the case, I was weirded out with a white guy wearing a hoodie indoors. When we saw Brian Patrick Higgins walking through the police station, was he wearing that hood because he wants to, because he usually does, or because he had an injury on his face, or is he trying to conceal his face? Although we think he's
you mean he had a hood up?
Yeah.
Hood
but
up.
Then again, it was snowing, obviously.
Yeah,
and he remember how many times he went for that hood to get Karen's attention, which is so fucking great, right? He did it like 3 or 4 times. I didn't even realize that there's a psychological impact of doing such a thing.
Sure.
Remember, he goes to put up his hood a few times thinking that Karen's leaving and trying to really get her attention towards the end. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe he got punched in the face a little bit. I don't know. But either way, obviously we know that someone, most likely Brian, punched John that knocked him out.
Yeah,
you
and
get
remember,
hit on the chin, you're going out the right way.
Also, Brian Albert had full like reconstructive surgery or something on his elbow, maybe. I got to look at it again. Rotator cuff. I can't remember exactly. Shoulder, maybe. Within a few weeks of this event. Now, I am not saying that they're related. I don't know, but I do think it's odd that he had surgery just a few weeks later.
Well, he's getting laid at 2 a.m. every single night, so
I
injuries
know.
happen, Samantha.
Yes, I know. But look, it's a really tough thing to. Who would have? It's hard because I think that the way that this went down, it had to go down so quickly, right? So you have Higgins in the family room. He's got to be waiting for John. It has to go down in the first minute. It has to, because Julie has to happen before she goes out. It just has to. So if that's the case, let's just assume with me that that's the case for a minute. Is it more likely that Brian is waiting for John based on his text, or that John walks in after reading the text, interprets it as a threat, and then is like, what the fuck is that? And starts something with him. I don't know. It's close.
Yeah. Well, obviously we know the outcome. You're way more likely to knock someone out with one punch, not kill them, but knock them unconscious on their feet so that they fall backwards when it's a surprise. So I've seen that statistic. I've seen it in real life, where if you punch someone that's not bracing for it, they're not blocking for it, you're way more likely to knock them out. And that only takes 2 seconds.
That's not what happened though here, because of the fact that we have Chloe re-engaging multiple times, right? So in other words, it's very unlikely that it was a one-punch knockout. It was probably not far away. I mean, it couldn't have been more than a handful. I mean, right at most, could have been maybe 1-2. That's probably more likely in my opinion, a 1-2. But Chloe's involved, right? And there's no question about it. If you look at the injuries, they're from her, and it's from a re-engaging dog who doesn't know who's not trained properly to bite. So she's trying to grasp like maybe 3, 4, 5 times, and he's pulling away. So that's important. It couldn't have happened after the fact, because the nature of the way that those injuries are, when you listen to Garrett Wing kind of piece it apart, he's saying that the only way that those teeth marks are made that way is if you're pulling away like that. Actually, the other way, because the dog is coming in. The dog is coming from the inside. So John would actually be pulling this way. Which is interesting, right? Because if the dog is coming in this way, maybe the dog was stopping him from hitting. Do you know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying. I don't know. I'm not ready to even conclude that the dog was involved initially in any of this.
Well, the dog was, whether you conclude it or not is irrelevant. The dog was involved, and the dog was involved re-engaging multiple times, coming in from the inside. There's just, I mean, it would be insane to deny that. It's as clear as like, it's like air. You just can't not see that. And
like, so you're saying there's no way that Brian Albert goes out at 4 or 5 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning with his dog, and then as he's pulling John or moving John, there's no way that the dog is jumping up and doing it. It's impossible in your mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Because of the injuries, because of the nature of the injuries, John had to be still alive and pulling away.
Yeah, I can't conclude that because I don't know anything about that
I get
in particular. Right? I can understand that they look like dog bites, and we have
I will also
testimony
tell you, though, and I've done a lot of research on this. There is a medical, this is for everybody can look. I think it's open to anyone. There's one case in the medical journals, because I also have access to like all these journals, whatever. They're not very exciting. But I think anybody can find this. It's a medical journal article where a person was killed by a pack of wild dogs. And if you go and you look at the bites a lot of them were sustained after the person died. Now, some of them weren't, but the ones that were, you can see that they are the more standard, what you would expect, like puncture wounds. There's a few puncture wounds on John, but not the like standard what you would expect to see from like a really pointy tooth going into like hiding inside a body. So you can kind of see the difference on this body because there's so many. It was a pack of wolves, dogs, that killed this person. You can see the difference between what it would look like if somebody's pulling versus if somebody's just been bit straight out.
Gotcha.
So I think that, to me, is the answer to the question you're asking about could it have happened post-mortem. But it's a good question, Gina. I hope that someday we get to know the answer. The only way we're gonna is somebody in that house, eventually has no choice but to open their mouth. At Kathy Downing 7477, thank you, Sam, for not letting this go. Like almost every other channel, there must be justice for John, and these House defendants need to pay for this. I couldn't possibly agree with you more, especially now. And this is where I'm at in my investigation. Well, I'm on Colin, but the next thing after Colin is the point that you're the thing that's really hard for everybody to accept is these 1227 texts and phone calls. So let's walk through this quickly. This was on X today. Boozy Beauty, who I want to get on my show on Wednesday, has been talking about this. And Tom Beatty. So Tom Beatty is a person that Jennifer calls a few times on the morning after Karen calls her to try to find John, alleging that maybe John stumbled away and wound up at Tom Beatty's. But also Colin at 12:33 calls Aaron Beatty. Now, it is my belief that at 12:27, because John has to be dead by the time Julie Nagel goes out, not dead, sorry, unconscious, I want to be clear. John has to have been hit and down before Julie Nagel goes outside to wave off her brother. And I say that because after reviewing all the testimony, and I'm not going to get into all the details, but just to say that the testimony is clear that the reason they stay is because of the fight. So the only way that, like, if there was no fight, Julie and Sarah would have left. So it has to be that she waits till after the fight to go outside and then waves her brother off, in my opinion, of course. And if that's true, then those 1227 text and phone interactions, like the 7-second phone call or 9-second or 7-second 9 call where John picks up, because there's a phone interaction where Jen calls John and it's picked up and answered, are all staged. And I suspect that the Aaron Beatty phone call wasn't for a ride. It was to because they're so genius, these people. You got to really remember, these are not like the world's sharpest bunch also. In their panicked, drunken state, must have immediately thought, oh, well, we'll say the guy never came in the house, and like try to call around to find out if John was, hey, is John at your house, Aaron? Hey, I know this is a weird question, but is John at your house? You'll notice it was a call and not a text, which is important, right? So that is what I think those calls and efforts to reach the Beatty house were about.
It also is possible that you have new energies coming in. We got Jen McCabe coming in at 12:18. She's insistent on everyone coming over to party, and innocently she says, "Tell your brother to come in." 4 minutes later.
It's not possible based on their testimony. You can speculate all day on whatever you want. Of course, anything is possible in any universe, but based on their testimony, that is not possible. So based on Sarah and Julie.
But I need to go back and actually watch that part too. That part and the Colin part, but specifically that part. You're right, because most of the time we just took it for granted that all that was true, meaning that they did ask him to go out and to come back in. Yeah, I don't even want to really talk about it.
If you watch
so I can go
the
back
last
and watch it.
4 videos that I released, you don't have to. You can just watch them because it's all in there, every second of all of it. Because one of the reason why my videos are long and laborious is because I try to be like extremely clear about why I'm saying what I'm saying, so that when I'm saying something now, like I can just say it without having to You know what I mean?
I just fast forward if I see me, then I stop it.
I know.
In your
Well, that's
videos.
why I'm telling you, you should go back and watch it because it does highlight, it lays it all out really clear. The kind Oracle Lala is a member for 9 months. Happy anniversary. Happy 9 months. Oh, I cannot stay away from my favorite gal. Oh, thank you so much. You changed your name. Oh my God. I just recognized you. I'm sorry. I hate when people do that when they change their name because then I don't recognize you. Hi, Sissy. Hi. My sister's here. I had to say hello to her.
Jackie.
I miss you, sis. My sister is also like a landscaper, an incredible landscaper at that. And so she's busy right now planting gardens, which is why we haven't seen her much lately. At Joey36 sends $20. Samantha is 100% right. There is a reason these people are going to such great lengths. It is to protect the kid. There is no other reason. That is my personal opinion. Yeah, I mean, Joey, if you can come up with a different opinion, I would love to know what it is. Like, what the fuck could possibly be the reason that these people, I mean, you got to see, I wish I had it handy. I could play it for you. You got to see Chris Albert. It's hard to just play it without the context because there really is, this is another one that Yannetti handles beautifully, but nobody's paying attention because it's Chris Albert, right? Chris is asked about the timeline and Yannetti's kind of slow and he's really thorough. So he starts with, you know, okay, so let me walk you through this. You're leaving the waterfall because their initial statements, this is what
I remember all this, Sam, but it was weird because you have the timestamp of when he left. I know what he was trying to prove, and they were trying so hard to prove that little Colin was involved in the timeline.
But Chris told us that he got home between 12:05 and 12:10.
Yeah, but he didn't leave until 12:14.
Correct.
You know, so like we get it, and there's no need to even go through all this, right? He's not going to dispute the time he left. It's on video.
No, but he does. He has a nervous
I
breakdown.
know, which is like weird. Like the evidence is there. Lally should have had it, and Yannetti. I don't even know if does Yannetti have that video in his mind when he's asking. All right, so he knows. So he's trying to trick Chris, trip Chris up.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I remember this, but
and he does.
Yeah, he does. But Chris, sorry, so I left at 12:14. All right,
no,
now
that's
what?
not what Chris does.
I mean, that's what he should do.
That isn't what he did, though. That's the point. You're absolutely right. He should have just said, who gives a shit? So my kid was home 10 minutes later. Who cares? They have a nervous breakdown to the point where, first of all, Chris can't speak. Chris is terrible under pressure. Julie, okay, so her tell, when you go back and watch everybody, I kind of destroyed Julie Albert in my most recent 2 videos because she is Chris's wife. So she, and you know, look, I have nothing personal. I think Julie's probably the sweetest of them all, potentially, of the bunch. Yes. Chris, too, I don't think they're bad people. I think this is a terrible situation. They are fun. Like the pictures on the lawn. I mean, they're funny, right? It was funny. Yeah. But she's lying. And, you know, that's part of what my job is to expose that. So she's got a son at the time who's 25, a son who's 20, and Colin Albert, who you've seen Colin, so you know who that is, and then a 16-year-old boy. And she is trying to make the case that she doesn't go to sleep until these adult men are home, and that that they all come upstairs like clockwork and they give mommy a kiss goodnight, and, you know, they ask her about, you know, this whole thing. And it's like, it's so egregiously absurd. And when she's telling these stories, it's completely out of baseline. It's completely different from anything else that she says up to that point. It's, you know, we can go into the details, but it's funny. It is actually hilarious. But the point is, what does it matter? Who the hell cares, Vince, about any of this? If your son was left at you, like you said, he left the house at 12:10. His cousin Allie, you know, because they're so safe and they never do anything illegal, like drive drunk, you know, like maniac madman. But she picks him up at 12:10 and takes him right home. And then he runs up the stairs and he says, Mom, how do you feel? How's your headache, Ma? You know, and then they give this big kiss and then he goes to sleep and that's it. Right? So the whole thing is just utterly absurd. Then the next morning, she goes to the house. They couldn't find a better, it offends me that they couldn't find a better story than the donuts in the car. First of all, Brian Jr.'s car isn't even there. So there's that. Julie says she goes over to the house because she has this ritual where every year She brings 6 donuts and coffee, but doesn't go to the house, puts them in Brian Jr.'s car during a snowstorm, during a blizzard, during the peak of the blizzard. This is what she's telling us that she's doing. And then Brian just happens to see her and waves her into the house, right?
Gotcha.
You couldn't come up with a better story. Like, it's offensive to me that these people are just, you know what I'm saying? Why does any of this matter, Vince? Why does any of this matter if Colin wasn't there? Tell me.
Well, again, everyone better call Karen and her attorneys quickly, because the statute of limitations probably has run now that they didn't name them. But let them know they're making a huge mistake.
Well, they are making a mistake, but that's
and
not
committing legal malpractice quickly.
Oh, I don't know what
but
to tell you.
I'm not saying that to disprove
I told
that,
you,
because it doesn't disprove it.
Her attorneys had them in the garage too. Like, I love her attorneys. They're my heroes. But like, sometimes I don't know what they were doing half the time in hindsight. I really don't. And not because they didn't know, because they were all overwhelmed. And like, we're both just noticing this now. Today, last week, we're looking at the you coming here and realizing that this guy outright obstructed every time he told us what these texts said.
He told I just shot him a text. Are you coming here? I love that you shot him. I just shot him a text. Are you coming here? 5 minutes before he's murdered, and I was having an affair with his girlfriend for the past 2 weeks, and then I ghosted my best friend, who I've been speaking with for 5 months. That bar interaction is so telling. Now that I think about it, the fact that I've been in this situation too, where you come in and you're sort of friendly, but then something triggers you, and you get sort of jealous that your girlfriend is talking to a guy, and the fact that they were friends for so long and they're not interacting.
That's what I mean.
Now, I don't know if you're jealous, if Brian Higgins is jealous because he's talking to Brian Albert. I would think the sexual attraction to his girlfriend is going to trump trying to be best friends with Brian Albert. Although you never know with Higgins, because he's very sensitive to these issues, especially with the guys. But
go ahead.
I think he's more into girls than I originally thought, because we saw the text messages that we never saw before the trial in the FOIA production, which indicates he was interested in girls. He does have some game, obviously.
Okay.
He's not totally clueless. And why I'm saying that, because before I knew all that, I just thought he didn't know how to pick up on hints, that Karen ghosted him, that Karen didn't want anything to do with him. That was like my whole mentality. And I was making fun of him for that. But that's not the case. So I don't think that he's jealous that John is talking with Brian Albert.
No,
like
not jealous.
Initially.
Not jealous. Pissed off, because I think Brian Higgins thinks that he's handled that situation well, right? Like, I think he thinks that he's handled the situation with John well and doesn't deserve to be ghosted by John. And that's what I mean. Not jealous of Brian Albert per se, but like, John doesn't go anywhere near him, and he barely positions his body language to even, like, do you know what I'm saying? It's kind of an outright ghosting, and I wonder if that's the person that was doing the ghosting that got in his head more than Karen.
Oh yeah, for sure, because Karen didn't ghost him. I
Right.
was wrong about that too, and it is true. It's like John initiated that initial hug, but then for the next 30 minutes, there's no interaction with them directly. You never even see them talk. Actually, you don't. You don't see them talk once.
No, you don't.
One of them has to know something's up, right?
Definitely.
Like by the end of the night, and it's only 35 minutes later, that there was no interaction directly from these two guys that finally meet up physically again after all that time, and then the 2 weeks of not texting.
See, I think that actually Higgins perceived that as threatening, like not as a direct threat, but that like all of that was going on at the waterfall, and that there was, like this growing, as they got more intoxicated, this growing like pissing contest almost, that John was aware of what was going on with Karen and was watching them very closely and was deliberately not speaking to Brian Higgins, and he knew it. And that's what really was underneath whatever happened when they got to the house.
Yeah, the real ignoring or lack thereof or intentional, it was not between Higgins and Karen. It was John
and Higgins.
Yeah, it really was. So if you think about all the energy Alan spent on telling us how Karen ignored him and how Higgy was a little douche that didn't understand that he was being ignored, the real tension was between those two. with regard to potentially ignoring or not interacting.
Yeah. And when you watch Higgins now, he wants to say that. You can see it. Like he hates that Alan Jackson is trying to make it seem like Karen ghosted him, because he knows he didn't. And he's sort of like, he can't say what he wants to say, which is, no, this, you asshole, this wasn't about Karen, this was about John.
How Sergio picked up on that is beyond amazing.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Before like any of this was down, like he knew this. It was crazy.
That's why I'm telling you, like, if I didn't have 100% evidence that the rules that man applies are 100%, then I wouldn't be so sure about when John died, exactly what happened, exactly who did what and when and where. But I do, because I've seen them be proven without him knowing anything. I mean, he didn't know anything about this case, nothing at all. Like nothing more than just whatever he saw from whatever was right in front of him. And so when you apply all those same rules, not only from him, but him, some of his teachers and other people that do the same thing, they're solid. I mean, it's really solid. And when you see the key though, and this is the part that you can't miss, you got to get their baseline. Like Sarah Levinson, that's what took so long. Like you can't just like apply the same rules. Like you really got to like get to know each of these people. That takes time and it's obnoxious,
Yeah.
but
I've learned that from you. The baseline obviously is critical. When I asked Aiden yesterday if he was ever attracted to Karen, I wanted to tell you that I only asked that question so Sam can analyze it after the fact, but I do want to analyze it because
that's so mean.
I don't know if you picked up on it when he was giving his roundabout answer, which wasn't just no, it's like, there's ethics and reporting, and I know everyone's attracted to it.
Right, exactly.
But he didn't say that.
He did say that, to his credit, though. He kind of did say that. He was like, that's really funny. At Nancy's 4062 sends $50. Oh my God, thank you so much, Nancy's 4062. The reason Julie wanted to get Proctor a gift was, him keeping Colin out of it. 100%. Yeah. For sure. And, he did keep Colin out of it. I think because Proctor, we've talked about this many times, believed they weren't involved. Like Proctor is really just, again, not the sharpest tools in the shed or brightest stars in the sky. These people, generally, all of them, the whole lot. So Colin just believed them. It's not.
Yeah. Because like Tully, let's say Tully shows up as opposed to Proctor. Yep. You have to change your whole attitude, because Tully, if you say, Tully, can you plant some taillight? And either he's going to take a hard line against you or he's 100% down with you, right? Like Tully's smart. You don't need to even worry about taking the risk of Proctor flipping on you. You could just trick him. It's not that hard.
Exactly.
Like you can call up and say, hey, the chief was driving by the house 4 days later, 5 days later, and he saw a piece from his car. Go get it. And they don't even question that.
You're absolutely right. That's exactly
Why
right.
even bother? Why take the chance? This is murder. For the rest of your life, you have to sleep. And there's no statute of limitations. I always say, you have to be so careful who you bring into this. This is serious.
No, you're right. I agree with you.
There's no need to risk it with those two. And Buchanan too. He's a nice guy, but he's just easy to do.
I agree. I don't think Buchanan. I don't think that the Massachusetts State Police are in on it. Also, remember Paul O'Keefe played football with Brian Tully. Like they know each other. He's going to support the O'Keefe. He's going to
100%, and that's a huge relationship. Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up, because a lot of people don't realize that when you have that type of bonds, you want to go above and beyond for that person.
And they did. That's why they arrested Aiden, because they believed that Karen was responsible for this. They just weren't looking at all the evidence. It's the same thing as like, what's his name? Plevin, Lenahan, right? Like he also just isn't looking at all the evidence. And if you don't look at all the evidence, then you can come up with any theory you want and just speculate wildly, and it's awesome. But the problem is that, if you don't look at everything and you only look at some things, then you're not going to see the whole picture. That's just the reality.
How dare you? Kevin was going through a major surgery at the time.
I know. I appreciate that. And I feel for him. I'm just saying, I'm so glad we got to speak to him and learn that, because it made perfect sense. I was like, oh, I completely understand where he's coming from.
Oh, do you know a guy like Nick Rocco?
Yeah, of course.
Rocco.
Do I know who he is? Yeah. We all know Nick Rocco.
Because I have a friend that was communicating. This is weird. That was communicating with him, either on Twitter or Facebook or something. And I said, oh, see if he wants to come on the show. I didn't know what the connection, and I didn't know that there was an issue. But supposedly now, I have to read what he wrote to me, but my friend said that Rocco doesn't want to be involved with us, or that Karen wouldn't want to be involved because we're involved. Like something basically implying that because I'm involved, or maybe even you, but I'm just assuming it was just me, that Karen wouldn't want to be involved in something. I wanted to get him on the show. Oh, that's what it was. I wanted to get him on the show yesterday as a surprise, like, guest to try and mend fences. Someone said they were having a beef with Aiden.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true or not, but it's like, oh, so just try and get him on, because my friend's more into the gossipy stuff. So,
Okay.
oh, that'd be funny. As a total.
Oh, that's not funny.
Something that would have been entertaining. No, like, I don't know. Like, I didn't care. But my point to him was, look, man, if you're all on the same team, then it's time to mend fences, because this is war here that Aiden's in, but we're all in, really. I mean, I'm not technically named as a defendant, but if you're for Karen, then why wouldn't you be for Aiden?
Yeah, for sure.
Even if you're like, have these two different camps, I guess. Like, but I literally tried. We were close to having him on yesterday. I don't know, like, how Aiden.
Mistake.
Oh, really? Why do they
probably
really
not
hate each other?
supported that. I don't think that would have ever happened. I would have been really pissed too. No way. Like, you wouldn't want, because you don't want to be in that situation.
I don't know, like, what the issue is there.
Because Nick Rocco is like, I mean, he is right now, as far as I know, and I could be wrong. I only know this just from everybody else and what I see, but my understanding is, like, he is Karen Reed's mouthpiece for the world. Like 100%. Okay. Like, that's the one person that she trusts, that she goes to religiously. And so I don't really know exactly what's happened between Aiden and Karen. I really don't know the details. I just know that, like, he started calling her names, but I think that was after they'd already had a falling out. So I don't remember what the original. Oh, yes, I do. I'm sorry. Now it's coming back to me. Hold on. Yeah, he recorded her. He recorded her surreptitiously because she was yelling at him. This was like the day after his theater thing last summer. And she was scared, and you could hear it in her voice. I mean, she really was scared. She was screaming at him like, you've heard it. We've all heard it.
Okay. How does that have to do? What does that have to do with that guy?
Because
Rocco?
after that, no, Nick is like, if you're Nick Rocco right now is your conduit to Karen. Like, they're basically a synonymous thing. So after that, because Aiden and Karen were no longer connected, I think he just kind of took up arms against Aiden. I guess I don't really know. I wasn't. I don't go on Twitter, and I'm not really. I mean, I try to just to see what's going on because it's sort of a news source, and there's a lot of good content on there, but there's also a lot of craziness. So I don't really know the details, but what I know, when you say Nick Rocco, to me that is a person synonymous with Karen Reed and her opinion, I guess.
Right. So I didn't think that would be a bad thing. If we can try and unite or reunite.
I just don't know if he's open to that.
He wasn't. I mean, they used us as an excuse, but I mean, there's a lot of people that were on the show yesterday.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But we were in contact with him when he was.
Okay. At Joey36 sends $20. Vince, how else do you explain Allie McCabe's Life 360 data? I completely agree with you on motive. Maybe it was both.
Yeah, I have no maybe. How do I explain it? It shows that she was gone from the house, but also Life 360 at that time is not that reliable with regard to exact location because of the way that it uses Wi-Fi for actual location.
Yeah,
but what is the deal with that? Like, are they trying to say that she was not picking him up?
That she didn't go home, I guess. Yeah. I think she was driving around. I don't really know. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know, because again, like, it's all of the records in this case are so, it's just so crazy.
No, but I don't default to that. Obviously, it's data. It's location data, so it's somewhat valuable. If you say that Colin, it could help your argument that Colin's there, right? If it shows that she wasn't physically at the house or anywhere near that house at 12:15, that supports your case that Colin potentially was there when John got there.
But like I said, one way or the other, it just doesn't, like,
it doesn't help, like, one way or the other.
It doesn't really sway my opinion, only because they are all it's not one person, it's not one witness. It's the entire lot. And they are so full of shit on this. And it's bizarre. It's because that's the whole point. The whole point is, to your point, if Colin really is just like, even if he's there, but not involved, why is everybody going to such extreme lengths to protect him? It just doesn't make any sense. It's bizarre. It's their behavior that really calls into question all of it. Because you're like, guys, enough, stop. But,
Well, that's why I asked about initially, were they excluding all the kids or was it just Colin? And there is a distinction, obviously, because Colin does leave before all the other kids leave, the kids that were there during the whole time. So,
well, I mean,
I don't know.
maybe not. I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Like, so I believe Caitlin left first, but that's because, well, there's a number of reasons, but first, because somebody's got to get the dog out of the house, period. She ends up at Tristan's. We also finally, by the way, for everybody listening that didn't know this, we have confirmation that Caitlin was living at the house, which I had told everybody for a long time because it was so obvious to me. So obvious. These people I told you, they give it all away. It's so obvious. They're so transparent, especially Caitlin. She's like, Tristan and Caitlin are just the worst. But so she was living at the house. Her car was at the house, I'm sure, because she was living there, right? So her car would have been there. The question is, it's not there the next day. And somebody has to take the dog because Chloe is clearly not in the house. So it has to be a family member unless Brian Jr. goes. However, we also have Brian Higgins very clearly got Jeep Cherokee on his mind.
Yeah.
Did he take her home? I don't know.
I don't know, but he doesn't seem like a dog person to me, Higgins.
No, but maybe maybe for safety. I don't know. Maybe Brian Albert
trusted her. What is the purpose
her.
of removing the dog?
I don't know.
Because you're not claiming obviously if their dog bites, you would want there to be no dog at all, but you would have to have everyone agree that we never saw a dog, there's no dog living there, there was never a dog there, right? That's not what they're saying. They all admit that the dog was there.
But maybe that wasn't the initial plan.
Yeah, that's a good point because the plan evolved quickly once they found out about the taillight at 7 a.m.
Yeah, that's right. The plan
But then again, you're right, because at 2:30, between 2:30 and 5:30, whenever John is placed at the flagpole, you do have communication between Brian. You have Brian Albert looking at John's arm. He may not even, there could be a scenario where he didn't know that he had these marks until he actually looked at him.
Or didn't know what they were, how bad they were, all of that. Sure. Yeah. I mean, the other thing about this that's just so obvious, right? Like, there's no blood. There's no blood on the crime scene. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So that tells you, it's like, it has to be somewhere, though.
Right.
So, like, even if, whichever scenario, because you and I have the fork in the road at house or side of the house, like, even if it is in the side of the house, there's definitely blood somewhere in the snow. You would have to at least get rid of it somehow.
Right. It's crazy that they didn't even stop to consider the fact that, look at this guy's injuries. I mean, there's no blood anywhere. Where did this happen?
Yeah, because I had asked that initially. Like, for some reason, I thought maybe, is that back of the head? Is it the cold? That is, but no, people are like, no way. That's where all the blood would be flying out of, right? And we even seen it in Koenig, right? That fact that it looks horrible. The only reason he is convicted is because of that picture.
Yes.
I'm convinced. Because I see blood all the time in the fights, but like that particular cut, she just let it flow. No one cleaned it. Because it's so weird. When you clean off a fighter's, it doesn't even look that bad until it starts bleeding again, right? But she looked horrible. It was matted in her hair. It was thick.
You're right.
So like that would be all over somewhere.
Right.
And it definitely wasn't in the front yard.
No, it wasn't.
Right?
No.
Because we get, thank God we have those pictures. We see the blood. Thank God there was no taillight there, right? There couldn't have been, but that there wasn't any, right? But there wasn't any blood, more importantly.
Right. That's the whole thing. It's like, this couldn't have been. But of course, none of these investigators wanted to know. None of them wanted to know. Like, they really just didn't want to know. And that's the problem, right? They didn't want to know. We're going to have to take a break in a second
Yeah.
because I have to pee desperately. Let's read a couple more of these, though, first. Otto1630 sends $20. Love you both. Thank you, Otto. We so appreciate you. We have got a member for 2 months from Melbourne. Fiona Houston 2140 says, thank you for all your hard and informative work from Melbourne, Australia. Oh, thank you so much, Fiona. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for being a member for 2 months. At Kathleen R61 sends $10. I'm a bit behind, but did you hear Emily C say that at the time John's phone registered 3 flights of stairs is the same time Colin ascended 3 flights? I do remember Emily saying that. And is it the exact same time?
I know she said that. Is it the exact same time?
I don't know if we could know that it was the exact same time.
How do we have Colin's elevation change?
It's not. We just have his verbal testimony that's like when he got dropped off.
I mean, it's similar, right? But you wouldn't be able to know exactly.
Yeah, it would be around the same time.
So the argument they're making is that Colin was involved, that Colin's action of elevation of 3 flights is the same as what John's phone registered.
Or like trying to come up with an excuse or something of why he would have been.
No, I get that. And look, if I'm the FBI and Karen's attorneys are all right that Colin wasn't there, then look at all the energy we put into trying to play something in terms of a motive and opportunity on Colin, where the real focus should have been somewhere else.
But he was there, is the problem. I know you don't want to believe that, but he was, and it's a problem. That's the whole. Again, I wouldn't put a single ounce of energy into this if it wasn't for the fact that they're just egregiously lying about it. And not only that, there's a lot more than just that. I mean, there's more evidence than just them lying, but they are lying.
But I will go back, because you don't really. I can't visualize everyone telling us exactly where Colin was when he left. Like, I don't even remember that. I want to hear from everybody, from all 10, and we'll get that. That's definitely a cool video to analyze.
Yeah, I mean, I do know where every single one of them. I know it all, and I know it by heart, and it's a fun thing to analyze. At Like a Fine Wine 79 cents $5. Chloe is a highly trained dog, and all Brian had to say was the kill command. Dogs will not let go until the commander says so. You know what? That's an interesting point. Love your show. Thank you for this. That's an interesting point, because we were all told that Chloe was not a police dog. And she probably wasn't, because they don't usually use females, because the females get anxious when they're trained to fight. So they listen, but they get traumatized after the fact. They get shaky, which is interesting. She might have been a washed out. Police dog. That is what Garrett Wing's crew believed based on her bite pattern. So she might have been a washed out police dog. The question is, but I had never thought about this. Brian Albert is the owner. Brian Albert is going to train this dog, right?
Yeah, or not train, or just neglect.
I don't know. You don't see Brian Albert wanting to put time and effort into training a guard dog? He did get a German Shepherd. He didn't get a freaking poodle.
Oh, yeah, and I love the way that they phrase how they obtain Chloe, which goes to this deceptive part about the dog. I mean, it's an adopted dog, a shelter dog, a mixed breed dog. They don't tell you the breeds, right? It's like regular police dog and ultimate police dog are the mixed breeds. It's not a Labradoodle. Right?
No.
And you're not getting it from your local kill shelter. This was a purchased dog, one way or another, trained to do one thing, right, to defend.
Trained to defend, whether she's trained to defend or not. That's the thing about Chloe. Like a German Shepherd, they are so trained in their DNA because that was their sole purpose for thousands of years, basically, right? They were protectors of the home. So it's in them to do it. Very interesting. And just the fact that that an expert who knows dog bites and German Shepherds specifically was able to look at the pattern and say, this is exactly what it is and this is exactly what it looks like. That was so interesting that it was not a police dog.
All right, take a break. I can't watch you.
All right, we're taking a break. We're taking a break. All right, you go. Goodbye. We're taking a break. We will be back momentarily. Let me, I've got a couple of, let's see what I decided. Well, in honor of our amazing interview yesterday with David Yannetti, I thought I would start with our fervent break with Mr. Yannetti and his song, which is one of my absolute faves, fervent favorites. Here we go. We'll be back in a few.
David Yannetti, yeah, you know my style. The only member of the team to make Bev smile. If your eyes are bad, I will offer you my readers, but they ain't gonna help when I impeach ya. I'm the reigning hot Mike's sexiest man. All these women in the street, yeah, they know who I am. They see my dimples from a mile away. When they pass me, they scream, Karen Reed was framed. That's right, oh yeah. Beverly said no more, of course. That's right, oh yeah. So my natural response was to say, of course, come on. Michael Proctor said he truly hates me. I got a question, Proctor, how's life treating you lately? They say everybody loves you, Nettie, but if you ask me, my heart belongs to Baba Leslie. That's right, oh yeah. They say Karen committed the crime. That's wrong, oh no. To quote myself, we now know that was a lie. Come on. Authors in Salem, Dedham, and Boston. Something in Norfolk County is rotten. Morrissey had me saying that is outrageous. A new DA might be what could save us. I've been biting my tongue for so long. Fuck you, Hank. Think you're better than me. Fuck you, Hank. You are not lolly. Fuck you, Hank. Think you're better than me. Fuck you, Hank. But why don't we see? I'm a basic kind of guy. I really don't need a flaunt. Smoking 6 packs a day and I'm happy as a hog. All I do is mumble. Do I really need any lungs? The trial one jury was just like me. They were hung. Trial 2 came around and you wanna bench me? Not one guilty vote was embarrassing to see. Need to remind you that my jury was 9-3. Take your little OUI and get about the scene. Fuck you, hey. Think you're better than me? Fuck you, hey. You are not lolly. Fuck you, hey. Think you're better than me? Fuck you, hey. Well, why don't we see? Oh, I know what will get us the win. Ask French about his fucking ham sandwich again. That'll prove this beyond all reasonable doubt. Oh, who am I kidding? This shit is a rout.
It appears that I made a mistake.
You took this case so damn personally, and I hold that opinion to a scientific certainty. You weasel face, up bet, Arkham Major P. Even with all the help you got from Beverly, standing ovation. What a robust cross. Psych. Your nerdy ass looks so fucking lost. Just think, $500,000 was all it cost to get our asses kicked in the fucking law. Think you're better than me? Fuck you, hey. You are not lolly. Fuck you, hey. Think you're better than me? Fuck you, hey. Well, why don't we see? Why don't we see? Hey. Waiting for your response, Maggie. Yeah.
Did I mention my jury was also hung?
Gotta love that. Oh, I knew I wanted to play We Believe today.
We can unlock.
We'll have to start with that one next time.
With our ass.
In honor of
We
their
believe
lawsuit.
medical.
Such a good one.
Yeah, when I see John, I don't cry. I definitely don't. At that
John-
song.
Oh,
Yeah,
at that song. I know. Such a good song.
Oh, yes, I would have been in trouble if I brought on Nick Rocco yesterday.
I don't know if I think yes, definitely. It would have been a horrific
That would have been
disaster. Yes.
Couldn't have gone any worse. So.
Right? That's funny. No, I don't think it was bad. It was fine. It was fun. I was glad that, first of all, it was fun just to be a part of it. It was just cool to be on the panel. But yeah, it was fun. And it's really true how, it is a battle, and the way I see it, he represents all of us in some way or another, right? He really does.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, I believe that this is going to be just another misstep that will bring us information. And the more money that they raise, the better it is for Karen. Oh, did the two Jewish attorneys say something about the money that they anticipate her making, Karen? Did they actually give a figure?
I don't know.
I've been, because she is going to have a significant amount of money once all these things are resolved, which is great, right? Like, she deserves
She
it.
should.
When
Oh
you
my
watch fucking Tully and that snarkness when he's with Aiden, I was getting so mad because I never saw that before. Did you?
I know. Yeah, the bus stop, I had seen it before, yes.
You seen the way he was at? Because Aiden was saying that this view was a different view. I don't know. I've never seen that part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's the beauty. I don't like to be, well, maybe I do, vindictive. But when it comes to this, right, the fact that they were doing this and utilizing a law, because I don't know much about Aiden's situation, but the fact that he was even arrested for what he did and what I'm watching is insane. To weaponize our courts like that, it's an embarrassment to an attorney, too. It's embarrassment to be an attorney when you're supposed to be the person that stops this, right? Because the police can do this stuff, but there's a separation there for a reason, and you should not pursue this claim just because you're getting heat from your local people. I mean,
Well, and that's exactly, like, if you go, you can actually see the email trail starting as, this is really the crazy part. If you haven't read Bettero's Mega Motion with all the links, it's actually a really interesting read because it lays out this case. It lays out what was going on in the Karen Reed case, because he gets a hold of this case in April of 2023. And within a few weeks, or maybe even that same week, Jen McCabe has the feds at her front door. And it's all happening at the exact same time. And they are going to Michael Morrissey's office and screaming and yelling and complaining and stop immediately. When I tell you immediately, within minutes, as soon as Aiden puts out his first thing, because they knew about him, Julie Albert had sent John O'Keefe a text message that said, "My worst fear in life is being on Turtle Boy." So they knew who he was 100% and were afraid of this, which is really the funniest thing in the world, right? This is what ends up happening to them. But so they had him in their sights from the go, and they immediately go to Morrissey, and you can see Morrissey's trying to get the feds to do it for him. You can see it in all the emails, and that's when they eventually, the feds write back, and they're like, we have a slightly different version on this case than you do. So he eventually has to find somebody to prosecute it for him. He finds the biggest loser guy. I don't even know. The first guy before Cosgrove, who was a retired judge, gets involved. There's this other total schlub who's doing all kinds of inappropriate things behind, just like he's trying to actively set Aiden up so that he could put him in jail. I mean, it's just crazy stuff. That's where the Lindsay Gattani situation, it's just like the crazy that was going on to try to put Aiden, the effort to put Aiden in jail, to try to stop him from outing them was what it was all about. Because this is, you got to put it in the time context, right? It's in 2023. They had like almost a full year of quiet after this. And they thought, I'm sure, that they had gotten away with it.
Yep. That's 100% right.
It's crazy. It really is.
It is absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Hold on one second. My little
Sonny,
dog.
be quiet.
I know. She's so needy. She can't even go up the stairs in our, like, she can't climb a step without help. She's so
Wow,
needy.
look at you, fancy. You have steps in a Manhattan apartment.
I know, right? We are fancy.
Wow,
very
must be nice to have Benigno funds.
You're ridiculous. Okay, so we
Was
have
there a
a
time when your dad
rent-stabilized
gets like
place.
a really big bump in contract when you were living with him?
Not when I was living with him. No, certainly we'd been not living with him for a long time. By then, I'm sure there was. I don't remember it.
Yeah, for those who don't know, radio pays like shit, and notoriously initially. But then when you get to your dad's next level, there has to be a huge significance in payment, I would think, at some point compared to what he initially started at.
I really don't remember. I don't think I knew about the details. Sorry. I really can't tell you. I wish I could, but I can't. At Mr. G70 sends $5. Colin is the reason for everyone to lie. What about the Ford Edge and Lucky? What was the original story before Karen? Hit by a plow? These are good points. I agree with you.
Yeah, and obviously they had to come up with something. I'm not sure if they even thought of Karen
plow?
being involved at all, like in any sense, except for they did play some sort of where she was, and they probably thought, all right, he must have slipped right here. He just slipped and fell right here.
Right.
Hit
I
the
think that's
back
what
of
they
his
were
head on that fluffy, nice soft snow and died.
Yeah, I don't
that's what they
actually
thought.
I don't think that's where Karen was. I think that they put him there because of where it was on the property. They were afraid to put him any closer to the Albert house. So basically they put him as close as they could to where it could still be feasible that Karen drops him off, but also he's still on the property and also at a feasible place where he could have been dropped off, right?
100%.
It's actually, this is the thing about this case that makes me mad now. When I take 90% of the complexity out, like, in other words, if I start thinking like a basic idiot, and I mean that in the nicest way possible, if you just start thinking like an idiot, like, don't think like an intelligent person, think like a jerk would think. And then
No problem.
ask these questions and it's like, oh, that's why they did it. It's like so obvious.
Right. And to your point, it's like, all right, we're not going to put him off our property. We're going to put it on our property because who would plant a body, on your property? But it's going to be as far away from our real house as possible. There is like a little change in elevation and just the way it looks, right? Because the Asian house does have a change in elevation, significant. It's almost like 8 or 9 feet compared to zero.
Right.
Yeah. Just the
it's
one I was
going up a
looking at,
hill.
Right. Yeah.
And
So
it's a very
it's not
slight
just flat.
hill. Yeah.
Right. And we can't put them right in the middle because obviously everyone would have saw him. So just enough out of the way where.
Just enough out of the way. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also that the investigators aren't going to go into the house, right? Because they don't want them in the house. The whole thing is just so stupid. So I don't think Karen had any, I don't even think she was, the way that Jen is on that 911 call with Karen, she just doesn't even, she's so dismissive of Karen Reed. Karen is a non-issue in their minds up until the taillight, until Jen realizes that she has a cracked taillight and they can now use that.
Which is odd because when you watch them at the waterfall, clearly they're at least fake friendly or friendly, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's no animosity. In fact, but it's also a new relationship. I don't think they knew her that well, right? Meaning Karen and Jen. So there's always some resentment. If this girl's prettier, they're very similar, right? When they look at each other, and the fact they have the same disease that makes them sort of attractive on some weird stupid way because they're both thin, like they're the attractive center of attention type, and she's new. And that sounded a little bit weird, but just saying, like, they had something in common. But it's also girls don't like to have competition, right? I mean, this is.
I don't know but I don't think it was Jen. I mean, I wouldn't guess it was Jen. It was just like it could have been anybody on Earth. They had a cracked taillight, and it's us or them.
Yeah, that's true too. Right? It doesn't matter, right? It could have been anyone. Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. The Ford Edge. I actually now am pretty certain. I believe that to have been Chris Albert. And I have reasons, which you'll see soon. But I think this was definitely Chris coming back to the house after the fact to help Big Bro, because they're going to need help. And Higgins obviously was there too.
Yeah, the thing is, again, with murder, you got to be very careful who you're bringing in. I'm almost certain that it would have to be either Brian Patrick or Brian Albert that is in that car. And I'm not 100% certain about the car make and model, but a car needs to be there to block just in case, right? You have to have it there or transport the body, like one way or another.
Yeah, I think there was 2 cars there. I think that at some point the Jeep must have been there too, and Lucky just didn't see it at that very specific moment. But I think they probably had more than one car there when they originally placed the body.
Yeah, that is interesting. I wonder if the Jeep potentially could have been the fact that Higgins came back and did park his car right in front of
I think that's part of it. Yeah. I think that was part of it. I mean, they needed. It's so stupid when you look at it. They needed Higgins to move Karen's car up. So that's the whole thing about what the Jeep story is about. It's to try to get Karen's car. It's so ridiculous to try to get Karen's car closer to the flagpole where they eventually put John. And it's so silly to watch them all bend over backwards to try to move Karen's car closer to the flagpole. It's funny. One testimony that comes to mind that's actually hilarious is Brian Jr. when he's like, I'll say that the car was, oh, by the flagpole. It's like, oh, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to watch.
You know what is odd though? Brian Albert doesn't tell us where the Jeep is. It's like if they came up with this story, I wonder why he didn't even offer an opinion on it. It wasn't even like he was lying about it. He just didn't even, he said he didn't know.
Well, he didn't have to because everybody else did for him, number one.
Yes.
And he also didn't put himself, like, I think what he did was change his testimony. He knew that all these other people were going to be doing one thing, and then he made the decision at the last minute to move himself. So he knew that everybody was going to put him in the family room, and then he puts himself in his son's bedroom. I think Brian Albert is smart enough, maybe the only one, who's smart enough to realize that in a jury situation, because I think that whole trial and all those antics were specifically geared towards getting Karen convicted, not towards us. Like, despite the publicity, they were kind of ignoring the publicity earlier on in all of this. They were more focused on Karen being convicted. And so they weren't as worried about the very nitty-gritty details. I also think, by the way, and you'll see this too if you go back and look, they are constantly making googly eyes towards the prosecutor, whether it's Lally or Hank, to try to get them to object for them when they get uncomfortable. It is so consistent across all the witnesses throughout. I think they must have been told, I don't think that they were as worried about getting their stories straight because they must have been told, like, don't worry, if you get in trouble, we'll bail you out, basically. They must have been.
I totally disagree. Like, Hank and Lally are just so good looking. You will have Google eyes too if you stare at them.
That's funny. Cute. It's funny to watch though when they it's just at reasonably doubtful. I think it's supposed to be doubtful. At reasonably doubtful. Since 1399. Have you focused on watching Colin's testimony to went up the 3 flights of stairs? Lally asks when, about 12:20. That struck me the first time I heard it. Why was that important to get in? Because if you're asking me that question, the answer is because at 12, so Colin is trying to get back before John is injured. John is injured at 12:25. He is aware of that because the reason why they are all so aware of the timeline is because of Brian Nagel. Remember, Jen gets the texts from Ryan to Julie and back. They are all so aware of exactly when this happens because they know that it happens in between the time when Ryan Nagel texts here and Julie texts back, he texts, where are you, or I'm going to leave. and then she comes out. So they have that text as like a marker of exactly when this goes down. And so I think that he's just trying to get home before John is injured. That's my feeling.
Yeah, or really arrives. That would make you completely innocent, right?
Right. What do you mean, arrives at the house?
Meaning, like, if we can establish that Colin is home at 12:20, then he obviously couldn't have killed John if he got there at 12:24 or whatever.
Right. The problem with this, though, is that his parents essentially verify this is not true. It's pretty funny to watch, but they absolutely validate inadvertently and accidentally that Colin was not there at 12:20. Now, nobody's paying, I guess, close enough attention, or, I'm sure they have their reasons, whatever, but this just doesn't get highlighted, I guess, to the degree that you might think it should. If you're going to suggest that Colin may have been implicated somehow. So, but John isn't there yet, so it can't be John. The 12:20 specific significance has to be before John is there, right? Because he's not at the house just yet. He's almost there, but not yet.
That's true.
At Pia 23andMe is a member for 7 months. Laugh out loud. Laugh out loud. Stop trying to convince him. McAlberts couldn't go through this if he wasn't involved. Has punk rep in Canton. Please analyze Allie's Life 360 for your proof. Stop trying to convince him. McAlberts wouldn't go through this if he wasn't involved. Yeah, I mean, that's true, right? Obviously, it's so crazy to me. Like, why is Chris, it drives me nuts. Why is Chris Albert on with them the day after the acquittal on ABC? It's just like, if your son wasn't involved, wouldn't you do everything in your power to like distance yourself from this case?
Yeah, but you're putting yourself in a position of someone that is sort of reasonably intelligent. They're just dopey. They never plotted any of this. They're just dopey. And Chris is dopey. He's not a bad guy. He's just dopey. He's a First Amendment guy.
I know, but that's my point, though. Like, he's smart enough to know, like, I don't want my family involved. But you're right. You're right. If Chris, of all of them, is not the sharpest, it's for sure.
Yeah, but if that was true, then he would be doing everything he can to exonerate little Colin, which would be going against everyone else in his family. That's the problem he has.
What do you mean?
Meaning, like, he's just going along with the whole script. He wasn't there, so it doesn't make a difference, right? But he's supporting them as opposed to questioning them and really coming out and telling us at least what happened when you left, because you grabbed Higgins' arm. If it was innocent, then fine, but no one's ever questioned him about that, right? You have David Yannetti questioning him, but there was no question about the most significant piece that he was involved in. Right? I don't give a shit what time he leaves because we have it on camera, but we were all going down that wrong path of the timeline at that point.
Well,
again,
it matters.
I'm not criticizing Yannetti. Can I just say it's like,
yeah.
It's so easy for us right now because we saw that video, we had the time to go frame by frame, and we still find things in it.
Yeah.
But that's critical, right? Because if you talk about Chris Albert, the real issue is, did you hear, see, but we see you, right? Because he may deny that, but we see you grab his arm. That's not a natural thing to do. Either you did it totally as, hey, where the fuck are we going, in a playful manner, and then we analyze whether he's being truthful or not, or he did it because Higgins was saying something.
Mm-hmm. I think it was something in between. I think that what happened there was Brian Albert may have said something very simple, like, turned to his brother, Chris, and said, like, there's shit between these two. Just some kind of like offhanded, nothing specific, to where as they're leaving, Chris grabs him. He's like stares at him and says something like, "You cool, man?" or "Everything okay?" Like, just checking in to try to like see if the tension had subsided. And then Brian plays stupid. Brian Higgins. He's like, "What?" And he like looks at Brian Albert and he's like, "We're going to his house." Like, "What?" We're just going to his house. So I do think that it was informed, but I don't think it was very informed. I think it was informed by like a comment that maybe Brian Albert made, is my guess on what happened there. Because if you really watch, and I watched very, very carefully, it's a very quick interaction, and Chris definitely stares him down to be like, you starting shit, man, you know, that kind of thing. But Higgins plays it off like he's like, what? That kind of thing.
Right. Or it could have been something as, hey, where the fuck are we going? I don't know. But, you know, Chris Albert has an allegiance to John. He's the one who invited him there. He's friendly with him. Obviously, they live near each other. So if there's anyone in that group besides Higgins and Karen, it's the closest is with Chris.
There's also evidence from their testimony that they knew there was conflict leaving the bar. So that's another thing just to keep, it's in the back of my mind. I'm always aware of that whenever I'm thinking about the waterfall. So there is evidence that they knew something was going on. I don't know that they thought there was going to be a brawl, but that they knew something was up. Not from Jen, by the way, just from Albert, Chris Albert, Brian Albert, and Brian Higgins.
Right. Yeah, because Jen is in total party mode. There's nothing about her that is nefarious. And I've said it before that
at that
they
moment,
thought she was trying to separate them, the lure John back. Like, there's no evidence of that.
I don't think so. I mean, I think she was trying to separate them, but not for any nefarious reason. She just wanted Karen to go with her.
Right. Back to the party, guaranteed that she comes. You know,
right.
Actually, you know, it's so weird.
I know.
Because how would, do you know what I'm going to say next?
Yes, go ahead, yes.
How would Karen not know that she's invited there if literally one of the persons that's in the house was dragging you and begging you to come with them? That's when they leave John alone. So she said it. I know she was drunk, but she said this publicly after all this when she's sober, that she wasn't sure if she was welcome there. I don't know if that's deceptive or not on her part. Because how can you not feel welcome given the fact that literally someone's dragging you to come to the house?
And if you watch all of the interactions, the only thing I could come up with to answer that is she's really invested in the conversations she's having as everybody's leaving. Like, she's really not paying very close attention to all the stuff that's going on around her. It's possible that she's not like cognizant or paying attention really to the details of what's going on.
That's a great point, because she mastered this art of being a 40-year-old girl at the bar with a boy that she's dating that's at a bar, meaning the way she talks to people, she makes that third wheel feel important. You know, she's touching them. This is at both bars, and you definitely could see even the girls. It's not just a sexual thing. It's more of a friendly type thing. Mm-hmm. She's not a wallflower. She knows how to play this game at the bar.
She does.
I mean, she must have been doing this for a while, right? Because it's a weird dynamic. They're older. They don't really have kids in the whole situation. So you have to learn this when you're 40 years old, how to make other people feel comfortable. She does a great job of that, because she came in hot. She was mad when she came in to CF McCarthy's. Remember, they were fighting all day. Mm-hmm. And she's not happy until she slurps down that first drink.
Vodka.
Yeah, looks good. What is it? I like that shape of the glass. But what does she drink? Just vodka soda or
vodka soda?
Tonic?
Yeah, I think it's a vodka soda. I don't think it's tonic. I think it's vodka soda.
Yeah, like slurps that right down. And then all of a sudden, now she's like friendly,
Of
like
course.
she's friendly with and all the other. Yeah, it's great.
Right, everyone's happy out at the, what was it? Everyone's happy at the waterfall or at the hillside or something.
Right.
Yeah. No, exactly. You're absolutely right. And Jen is like that too. Like, you were very right about them being sort of very similar and kind of like the life of the party. You know, you can see Jen, she's literally, in a way it's a performance, but she's very physical. She's all over the place. When the lights go up at the waterfall, it's fun to watch them, because you really do get a vibe of what's going on in there and what the vibe is. And it was like drunk party vibe for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's aware that Brian Higgins is going to jump John. No.
Well, Brian is, I think.
Well, but he's not there at that time, right? So in other words, that group, Brian leaves, and it's like Matt and Jen and the Kolakithises are still there, I think, and Karen is talking to Karina, and so it's after they leave that I'm talking about. Chris is there, and Chris is like kind of dopey and like really drunk, and you can kind of see that he's like kind of stumbling a little. I don't know that he knew Chris, and there was a conflict. I think he knew Brian was like grumpy, but I don't know that he thought they were going to beat up John.
Yeah, I don't know. But he wasn't questioned about it though.
He wasn't
under oath.
questioned about it.
Right.
No. But he was questioned about the mood, and that's where you get the deception. You can see that they're being deceptive there.
But it's like, it's so easy. Yeah, the mood was great. You know, like, all right, what? But like, when you
but they don't
press
do
someone
that.
with visual evidence of, grabbing the arm at this particular time, it's a total different answer because we have the video of it.
Yeah, I know. You're right. And he's terrible at those kinds of situations, Chris. He just buckles completely. At Anarchy Bite sends $5 of some denomination. Side of the house leads to back, whereas coal entrance door to basement. So possibly they, BH and BA or Colin, dragged body there first, then to the flagpole. I think I believe the body was left in the basement. It was moved to the basement because they had to redo the floors. And when Brian Albert is asked about that in the trial, he's deceptive about why, very clearly. Like, it's a clear indicator for Brian Albert, because thank God Jackson really does kind of grill him on the house stuff. Why, you sold the house after 50 years. Your parents were the ones that built the house or whatever. They redid the basement. They really did redo the whole basement flooring in that one room. He says it's because there was a toilet overflow, but he's very clearly lying. So my guess is that that's where they put him, and that's where the blood evidence was the worst.
What was the reason then her current attorney sort of shifted away from the basement and is more towards the garage?
The step. There has to be a fireplace or a stair. There has to be a concrete that produces the very specific injury on John's head. It's both a very finite, rigid, and then a scrape. So she said there has to be the combination of the two. That's why they ended up in the garage. Because I also think her attorneys couldn't imagine that all these people were there when it happened.
True.
At Silly But Deadly sends $5. Vince, how can the screenshot be real if hits midnight but the date doesn't change? Come on.
Yeah, actually, take it yourself. Take the actual screenshot, put it into ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, and ask it that question. It's cool because there are ways to manipulate screenshots, and there are alignments, and that's how I came to at least the initial conclusion. But I had to qualify that because, especially back then, ChatGPT would just tell you whatever you want to hear. But I think we were using Gemini at the time, which is the AI system for Google. There is a way to determine this, and there is a reason why it looks that way. So I'm not saying that it's completely real, but there's nothing that I have to say that it's fabricated.
But right
which was
now,
my initial conclusion.
Here's the thing. We could all set up our phones right now in such a way to produce that exact screenshot. Right?
Agreed. Yeah.
So and it would be a real screenshot because it really came off of my phone, but just at a completely different time of day.
Right.
And here's the other thing. I wish they were asked more about this. They weren't. But the one time that he is asked, Colin is deceptive in his answer. So, we don't get enough about it. I wish there was more questioning about the screenshots.
Right. But for us in our investigation, we would love for them to have fabricated this because we can always get to the source data one way or another. So if they did that, that's a huge issue.
I really hope you're right about that. I worry that they put a lot of effort into trying to get rid of any source data. But I hope you're right. At Fiona Houston 2140 sends 10, I think, Australian dollars. If most of their phones have facial recognition to access that, yes. Does that mean, with all the apparent butt dial, does that mean their butts and faces look the same? I will say you bring up an interesting point, though, that scares me because for my theory to be correct, they are using John O'Keefe's face to get into his phone between 12:27 and 12:32. So it's very evil, and that's where I'm at right now in my investigation. The timeline is trying to suss out what it means based on the phone interactions on John's phone. All those screen, what are they called? The unblocking of the camera.
Yeah, pocket state. And
pocket state, clear, and all of that.
State, yeah.
So I'm trying to go
into
through all that.
Yeah, that's like when I'm like, 12:25 and 10 seconds I'm at now. And it's like, there has to be some explanation because there is manipulation of the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that using face recognition is scary on a theory because it's so quick. Like if it happened at 2:30, all right, we have time to think about, oh, where's John's phone? The fact that we think that they're thinking about the phone this soon after a body potentially is laying there, that's a hard thing to overcome in terms of proving.
But that is what the evidence indicates. And one of the things,
I'm not there yet.
well, I'm just saying to everybody else, not to you. Obviously, I know I'm not going to change your mind. I'm just saying to everybody else, like that, I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it, and if there wasn't a reason to say it, because the Julie thing is really hard to overcome. They are leaving, verified by both of them in their testimony. They're on their way out the door. She texts her brother to say, pick us up now, we're ready to go. He texts her 12:23. He says here. He texts her a minute out on Cedar Crest. Then he pulls up right behind Karen, but just before John has gotten out of the car already. He's headed into the house. It's questioned whether he checked the phone while he was in the car getting out or whether he was walking to the door. But either way, right at the beginning of the 12:25 minute, he checks the phone. He sees the "you coming here" text. He then walks in the house and either says something to Brian, and Brian is like, at that point, it's like all he had to do was look at him wrong. Karen isn't with him, which is huge, and Brian just jumps, and then it turns into a fight. Obviously, I think he hits his head clearly on the fireplace because it meets Dr. La Posada's standards. It's also in the family room where everybody's got all kinds of shenanigans going on. They move him quickly into the basement so he doesn't bleed out all over the place. And then he destroys that floor while he's down there. But the scary part, to your point, Vince, the scary part is how quickly they went into John. The guy never was in the house mode. They had to.
Well, they didn't have to then. They weren't even questioned about it until
next
day.
The evidence, the way that it is on John's phone indicates that by 12:27, well, I guess it's Jen's phone. By 12:27, it's both of them. There's these interactions with John's phone. She starts calling and texting John starting at 12:27. She's she lies egregiously about what she's doing between that time. She's saying that she's getting up, and every time she got up, she went to the screen door, which obviously she didn't, and texted, "Here, ? Pull behind me," right? We know, of course, Karen is gone by 12:30, and so all of that, all the texts that follow that are clearly alibi texts. Then they're deleted the next morning. But the question is, to Vince's point, do those texts start at 12:32 when John's phone activity stops or before John's phone activity stops? My opinion is that those are all alibi texts and phone calls immediately, which is scary because it means they immediately went into, we're not calling 911.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. But it actually is exciting that we're like limiting the scope now, right? Now we can really microanalyze what's going on. So that's cool because really we're between 12:25 and 12:32 and 15 seconds the last known movement of the phone. So now we can really hone in on that.
Let me ask a question about this, and I know we have to get to everybody's things. Doesn't it, could I make the argument that it almost has to be them? Because at some point, they would have had to move John's phone after he's unconscious. And that's the last movement on the phone, right?
Yeah, 12:32 is the last movement, and it's not that long. It's only, I think it's only 20, 30 seconds. I think it's 36 yards or meters. But yeah, the last movement will be at 12:32.
So if that's the last movement on the phone, now I don't know enough about phones to say, could it go into airplane mode? Could have been the Faraday bag, all that shit. But theoretically, the last movement on the phone would have to be them.
Yes, and that was always the issue I had because eventually that phone's going to make its way to the flagpole, right? So there was no movement detected in the phone, in theory, when they actually moved John's body.
Right. Well,
But
it moves again at like, wait, what's 6:00?
Well, right, but that's after he's found. So I found that if it's in John's back pocket and we're holding John, is it going to register any movement in terms of?
Well, that's the good question that we don't
steps. Right, because I think the phone. Oh, and you know what? At CF McCarthy's, it's important because John keeps his phone in his back pocket, right? So it's like, some people keep their phones in their front pocket, but if it is the fact that he was found where he was and it was in his back pocket, and they moved him with it in his back pocket, would it register any steps? And would they have to take the chance that it doesn't? Right? Because if we saw movement at 440 or 450 whenever he was placed there, that's huge, obviously. Are these guys smart enough to not know
move
that?
It? Oh, yeah.
Are they
for
smart
sure.
enough? They are. See, I never gave them that much credit initially.
For sure.
That they would know
for
how to do
sure,
that.
ATF, Brian Higgins, and Brian Albert are smart enough. They would have immediately
Really?
known that. Oh, yeah, for sure. You heard what Flevin told us.
Yeah.
Like that, they would have been immediately thinking about it. Now, I don't think that they are they are obviously flawed creatures in many ways, but they must have been, it would have all had to have been their direction that's leading all of this. And it would have been them that immediately tried to cover it up. It wouldn't, everybody else just didn't have a choice, right? Like they're going to do whatever those two guys are saying to do. And it would have had to have been their lead that everybody else just kind of falls in line underneath.
What is crazy, like, I don't know if you saw that great diagram I put together with all the phone calls from Exhibit 2 of that recent motion.
I don't think I saw it, but I did see a diagram.
Yeah, it has like the phone calls of the morning. It's a table. It shows Higgins getting the 1222
Yes,
call.
I saw it. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it took me a long time to do that. But anyway, isn't it crazy that they're calling each other at 1222 basically when everyone's leaving, right? Then all of a sudden, or has left. And now Brian Higgins and Brian Albert are talking at
222.
222. Sorry, 222.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love when Brian Higgins corrects Alan Jackson. It was actually those times. And he's like, at 12:20, sorry, 2:22. Like he knows these times. And so
for sure.
What is the coincidence in the entire world that 2 of the 10 people are talking at 2:22 when everyone else apparently leaves the house, right? What are they speaking about? But more importantly, are they plotting there how to move the body?
Mm-hmm.
You think they would have to be, or just come over, right? Like Higgins is waiting around and then just come over. Aiden can get to that Jeep, assuming that it's around. And do you think that Higgins is smart enough to take out all the potential data from that Jeep?
I don't know. Probably.
Yeah, and would that be indicative in the Jeep? Does a stupid girly Wrangler have the computer system to track where it's been? Like, there's a lot of cool things that you can get at.
Probably.
But I don't know if it's been manipulated by now or not.
Probably does. I would think so. At Villanelle 27, a member for 2 months, did any medical experts say how much fluid would come from the back of John's head? Love to you both. Not to my knowledge. I think the answer is no.
Actually, on both sides, that should have come out, right? Because if you're claiming John was there the whole time, then how much blood comes out while he's laying there from 12:32 to 6 a.m.? Because we actually see how much blood is there. There's a few drops.
I don't know why it didn't.
Yeah, why didn't that come out more?
I don't know. I don't know why the team didn't.
Shit. I always thought, like, I guess I was wrong with this, but if your head's in the back with that huge gash, that wouldn't be so much blood, but I have no idea. And I was told it's the exact opposite. That there
would be a lot more than was there, right?
Oh, yeah, right. Like, those look like drops that after the wound is sort of closed, or at least he bled out initially, right?
Somewhere else, of course.
Right.
Yeah. This was not the crime scene. I mean, any legitimate investigator would have walked up, saw the injuries, and said this wasn't where this happened, but it's the moron club, so of course they didn't do that. At Andrea P356 sends $4.99. Brian and Nicole would have a harder time pretending to be asleep if Chloe was barking at all the activity outside. That's very true.
Yeah,
yes.
It's a great point. But the weird thing is they're not saying that the dog isn't there, right? It's not as if like They said, "Oh, our daughter took it for the night." So they're, in theory, told us that the dog sleeps in that bed.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, because we're looking for a reason why to remove the dog. Maybe another theory is that the dog got blood all over its mouth. I don't know. Like, but you
Sure.
think you'd be able to clean it? It's
Listen, I don't
interesting.
know. I think like I said, I think the plan probably changed. That the original plan was just get this goddamn dog out of here because it was evidence that John was, attacked by a dog. But I think it changed. Must have.
Well, that must have been scary for Brian Patrick and Brian Albert to look and see if they did bite marks all up and down John's arm. Those aren't just one or two marks, right? Now, I looked into alternative methods to make those marks, and you can do it. Like if you slice someone's arm, if they dragged it across something that had perpendicular sticks on it, like and he felt like actual metal spikes, things like that. So like there are potential alternatives, but either way, when you're looking at that, that's not from a car. Like there's no way that's from a car. So I don't know how smart they are, but you would see that potentially they see that the dog is going to be a big part of this, but they didn't remove the dog mentally completely from the house, right? They've always said the dog was there. They never said
I think
the
they
dog
probably felt they couldn't. I'm sure they had a dog, right? I mean, the dog had been, so they knew that they couldn't get away with saying that there was no dog.
So that would lead us to believe that there was something on the dog, such as blood or something that they wanted to get out that particular day in case the cops, I don't know, did an investigation.
Did show up.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know. They didn't know if they were going to try to come into the house, whatever. Yeah. At DP Max Effort sends $4.99. Has Vince seen the music video dedicated to you guys? Any chance you guys would want to play it? Sure, I'd play it. It's very cute. Did you see it?
No.
You haven't
Who
seen
did
it?
No.
And
especially it's about me. I would watch it.
I thought I got it from you. I want to say I got it from you. Yes. I want to be like,
is that the one with like the puppets?
No.
Oh.
I think this is a different one. Was it DP? Was that from you? I feel like it might have been. I thought it. I don't know. I have to double check. I will double check and let you know.
Yeah.
If we don't have time to play it today, we'll definitely play it next time, without a doubt. It's very cute. I'll play it, of course. I thought it came from you though. I don't.
I would know if something's about me.
No, Denise sent it to me, right, Denise? I thought DP Max, was that you that did that? I thought it was. It's it's cute. It's very cute.
Is it us like us physically or puppets one?
No, it's like clips of us, and it's sort of
Wow,
it's cute.
Of course I want to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. At Good Trouble Studios, became a member. Welcome, Good Trouble. At Your Dad's Favorite Mom sends $9.99. What if John said something like, "You trying to steal my girl"? What if John? Yeah, when he greeted Brian Higgins, and then when John ignored Brian all night, it put Brian on edge about where they stood. Oh, I think it was very much he was on edge about where they stood. I don't know that John said anything to him, but I don't think he had to, because they were friends. To Vince's point, they had been friends. So I don't even think he had to say anything. I think he just knew that they were not cool anymore.
Yeah, that's the hugest point in all of this. If you take out Karen visually from the waterfall, you have these two guy friends that are chasing girls for months and months and months. Then they stop talking for 2 weeks. They finally reunite and see each other. And then they don't even interact privately. How weird is that? Like, that's very, very weird. One of them knew something was up. Have you ever ignored someone intentionally at a space such as this, right? So like you can feel them, and you know something's up. So there's no way that one of them didn't know something was up because they were just so close 2 weeks ago.
And the fact that, like, yes, John greets Higgins first.
Right.
But then he spends like another 5 minutes in an embrace with Brian Albert, to the point where Brian Albert's like, you can see he's uncomfortable. He has to like pat him on the back twice because John's still embracing him. It's almost like he's going out of his way to rub it in Brian Higgins' face that he's being friendly with Brian Albert. You could certainly make the argument because he's over the top friendly with Brian Albert.
Yeah, I've done that too, right?
Of course.
To show someone that you're a rival with. That's one of the
You're
best
mad
ways to
at
get
them.
back at them. Yeah, like to actually show them that, hey, you're friends with me. Right? That bothers the shit out of Brian Higgins if that is the truth, if they are aware of this going on. But clearly something's up. These are friends. Like there wasn't like the random.
Yeah. No, I mean something was up. That's the whole point. And Brian Higgins knows it. I think because remember, Karen says, "What are you hooking up with him?" Like, and this is the first time that they've seen each other, right? And Brian Higgins stops interacting with John because of this, because of Karen.
One time I was dating this girl, Kristen, and my friend Pat was my good friend, and he still is to this day. But every time I left, Pat would always go up to Kristen. So one time I was at the bar, and it was 2 levels, and I was upstairs, and I left, and I watched him. Like the second I left, he's a nice guy. Like he wouldn't hook up with her behind my back, but I came down in such a jealous rage. I remember I picked Pat up and I threw him up against the wall. And this is my roommate. This is my good friend from law school. And this is my, we lived in the same building. But I was so enraged by this. And I sort of can relate to that potential rage. Now, again, I was 22. It's different. But for certain, male apes will act in a certain way over females, especially over jealousy.
Well, and also not just that, like, because I don't think this was just about Karen. I think it was also about them because they were friends.
Yeah, you got to remember, John's 40 or in the 40s, right? And it's not like you're 20. You only have a few friends, and you finally have something in common. Is the guy that you're going chasing girls with for all the time, drinking, and yeah, that was a relationship that John cared about. Clearly,
he liked him. Yeah. Absolutely. And Karen made a point to say that to Brian. No, he really likes you. And she reiterates, she doubles down on it because he's like, oh, great. Now he thinks I'm hooking up with you. And she's like, no. Like, you're great. We love you. He loves you. So I think you're right. I think Higgins knew and was fuming over the fact that John was snubbing him on purpose. I think that was part of what motivated the well text. And I think that was the tension that then was ignited by Karen's push and like cute bullshit.
I know that's the situation that I'm relating to where you see it in front of you and it enrages you for some reason.
Right. I think it's a combo, right? This is a great point at Chat Signal. Sends 999. Sam, your Jeep video was great. I finally get their stories. But why does Brian Higgins' story about being a smart ass and sweeping the driveway? He made a big point to get that story out on the stand. Yes, it's very true. I forgot to mention this. I think I do mention it, but at a different point, different video. To me, I believe that he comes back to the house after. So essentially the timeline is off. I think he comes back after the PD, after the police station, and that the reason primarily he's at the police station is actually just to get on camera so that he can say, see, I left Brian Albert's house and I went to the PD and then I went home, but I don't think he did go home. I think he must have gone back. Sorry.
That was my initial theory, both in why he went to the police station and why he said the sweep, because there was no snow to sweep initially, so that you wouldn't have done that even if you're trying to be funny. You wouldn't, and he likes that stupid plow. You're not going to drag it along the ground. That's the worst thing you could do with the plow.
No, you're not.
Yeah, but I always thought that he was covering up tracks for
later.
Yeah, the movement.
Yep, they had to cover up the tracks for the movement. They had to, right? So because they don't know how much snow is going to fall, and they had to time it so that there's not tracks in the snow, right? And I think that's also why he's at the flagpole, because they were able to stand in the street and throw him onto the lawn from the street, literally throw him with one person has like the top part and either one or two people have the bottom part, and they literally swing like 1, 2, 3, and then they throw him and he's literally horizontal from the street. He's parallel with the street. So his head is facing the driveway and his feet are facing the flagpole. To me, that's how they got him there.
Yeah, and if his phone is in the back pocket while they're doing that, you wouldn't see movement. Most likely. We're going to have to test that, and we could test it. Literally, you could test it by just picking someone up with the phone in their back pocket. Is it going to register steps?
That's so interesting. And how do we check that? I guess you could just go right into after and check to see if it registers steps.
Yeah, obviously, that's the only way you can do it, right?
Oh,
So
that's
have Emily
right.
set that up. Yeah, because like it can't be that far too. It's only either from the house or from the side of the house or the back. But in that pocket, would it register? Because this is done on like natural vibration of walking.
Yes.
We have to have Emily test that out for real somehow.
The other thing is, so the location, the house is definitely a poor signal, poor cell phone signal spot, right? Which is common in New England. There's lots of I know a lot of houses in New England where you don't get, your cell phone doesn't work at all. So it depends on, that might be another way to see where the phone is. There might be a way to determine if the phone changes in terms of its level of strength of a signal.
Right.
So, at one Sanjas one sends $10. I'm hooked on your collab. Love your energy and your smart analysis. Thanks. Thank you so much. We so appreciate you. Thank you guys for your support. You are the best. At Andrea P356 sends $4.99. Sam, Colin seems like the type to get involved if he felt John was being just absolutely in his uncle's house. P.S. Vince, please stop saying little Colin.
Canton
Colin's
John,
not so little, right? He's not.
Not anymore, because Canton John sent a picture of
big.
Colin with the tattoo. Is that real?
I don't
Did
know
you
about the
see
tattoo. Yeah, yes, I have seen it with
It's
the
like a crest on.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's real?
Yeah, I think it is real. That was a while ago, though, that one. The picture
Okay,
that I was looking at, that's to your point, I think he might have been on steroids, actually. Just knowing the kind of person that Colin Albert is, I wouldn't be surprised at that at all. So I'll show it to you later. I don't want to take the time now because it's already 3 o'clock, but I will show you guys later. There's a picture where he's still at his uncle's house. They're in the family room. And so you know when it was taken because it had to be taken at some point while the house was still there. And he's a big boy, Colin. He's like 6'2", 200 pounds.
All right.
I mean, he's not.
Hey, I was laughing my ass off at those fight videos yesterday.
I mean, he's a little boy in those videos, right?
I know. And the fighting technique, which I don't think this was like a real. I think these are friends fighting, except for maybe the locker room one, which I've seen before, where it's like
here's
more
the thing.
animosity.
If 3 videos were sent to Aiden within 24 hours of his testimony, how many of those do you think exist in the world?
Yeah.
Right. At my sunshine 326 sends $1.99. Hi, at my sunshine. Also couldn't risk any neighbors with ring cam. Yeah, they had to definitely. Yeah, I mean,
That's
right
why
across
the
the
car
street.
is so critical.
Yeah.
Hey, well, to Aiden's point or to David's point yesterday, the fact that a witness saw that car there in that particular spot and there was nothing done is mind blowing. Compare that to Donna Sue Adelson, where they have that old geezer, that guy, the neighbor, thank God for him. He sees out of the corner of his eye a glimpse of a car, and they eventually track down that car. You have so much more with regard to what Lucky saw compared to what that old guy saw.
Yeah. They don't even
didn't
look
look for it.
They don't even ask a question about it. It's unbelievable. Like, how did they rationalize that? How do you rationalize that?
Well, yeah, they rationalized it by saying that no one came in the house. It was clearly an accident, a car accident.
But there was a
Or
Ford Edge
intentional.
there. What is the Ford Edge? Who, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you rationalize it? Well, what? Lucky didn't see a Ford Edge? He saw what? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just insane. These people. At Villanelle27 sends $2.99. They not bright, but also really drunk. Oh, of course. Yes, not think. And I actually think that's important. I think the original strategy with Tom Beatty, I think that whole thing was the first very not well carefully constructed or thought through plan. I think the plan really was simple. Like, the guy didn't come in the house. Like, that's it. The guy didn't come in the house. There's all kinds of holes and problems with it right from the start, but I think they're just not thinking because they are drunk, just like you said. Drunk and not the brightest. and scared. I mean, you know, a guy just died or a guy's unconscious. Now, here's an interesting question, and maybe this is for a different day, but the question, is there a world where they're thinking, well, maybe he'll be okay?
Yes. I knew you were going to answer. Sorry to cut you off. I knew you were going to ask that. Yes. That's in the perfect world, right? Because either way, after it's done, you don't want to have killed John O'Keefe. There's no benefit for you as Brian Patrick Higgins to have killed John tomorrow, right?
For sure
in
not.
the fight, yeah, right? If he's trying to harm you, yeah, maybe. But yeah, you'd rather him be alive and you could just date his girlfriend in the end, right? You had a fight and that's it. The last thing you wanted was to him to hit the back of his head and to die. It would have been so great for him to somehow survive this.
But they must have known he was dead before he goes outside, right? So he doesn't survive. Obviously, they discover that soon thereafter. So you're saying, that's an interesting theory, though. I can run with this. So in other words, the original plan is just in case he doesn't make it, we're going to say the guy never came in the house. But in the event that he is okay, then he's okay.
Oh, shit. Yeah, actually, I never thought of that John would be able to talk then and say that what happened. Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, right. Sorry. They would have to have known. Does he stop breathing at a certain point?
15, 20 minutes later.
So he's not breathing. Then they know he's dead. Yeah, because it's 3 hours later. You're not going to survive that. Although you have that ice thing, but that's just, I mean, such an anomaly that you would survive that. So yeah, then they know he's dead.
They had to know he was dead.
Yeah.
So they knew he was. I think they all knew. Remember, he's a tactical medic, so I think they all would have known that he was. The chances of him living were slim to none immediately. It probably was a really scary injury too. Like my guess is, like to your point about the blood, there probably was. Yeah. It was probably a messy injury, and so that would have immediately informed their perception of what was going on.
Right, because you have to clean that spot very well. Yeah.
You got to clean, and you realize, like, holy shit, we're in trouble really fast.
Right.
Like, he's not going to make it. Now what? So, but I guess there was still a chance.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they probably know. Because that's what's like, if they really thought, if they would have broken an arm or a leg or something, that would have been crazy for all of us. That would have been a lot harder to win this case. If he's dead, might as well. And you really thought that Karen, you sort of foreseen that she could have hit him. Yeah,
they didn't see that though.
Better. No, they didn't, because it wouldn't take much to break an arm.
No, they didn't. They didn't think that far ahead at all. No. AdPia23me sends $9.99. Life 360 is pretty close. It shows she picked him up at the high school. There's a wood path by 34 Fairview to the high school back parking lot. Oh, interesting. Colin ran out of the house. Per Brian Albert's instruction, they drive around to calm Colin down. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I'll look at that, Pia. Let me look at that.
I didn't mean to laugh at the question. I was laughing at the fact that when David was questioning her about Life 360, at some points she's at the high school, and at some points she's completely in a different spot. And I remember we did the math with regard to the data that he had, and she would have been driving like 400 miles an hour to actually travel what Life 360 was saying.
Yes, yeah. The whole thing though about like the Wi-Fi is really silly, because I'm a parent of a teenager or about to be a teenager, and like that's the whole point of these apps. The whole point is that you're able to track them wherever they are, whether there's Wi-Fi or not. So that is not a viable excuse, right? These apps, that's the whole point, right? The whole point is that I can see my kid wherever they are, whether they're connected to a Wi-Fi or not. But I didn't know though that there was the possibility that she could have picked him up some other way.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what the data said, so I can't give an opinion right now.
But that actually, the reason why this is very interesting to me is because I don't believe that Allie was at that house. There's no evidence of it, and she is really a hellacious witness on this topic. However, when she's asked about the injuries, something changes. It's like it appears as though she either must know there was some kind of an injury, or that she might have seen him both drunk, not just injured, but drunk. There's the combination of him being intoxicated and wounded appears to have really created deception in her. And so that would make sense. It makes sense if she picked him up somewhere else, because she doesn't go to the house. She can't tell you anything about the house. She can't tell you if she pulls into the driveway. She can't tell you if he got into the left side or the right side. She can't tell you anything about the house. But if she picks him up somewhere else, then she would have seen him, and she would have seen him whether he was intoxicated or not. So that's possible, Pia, based on her testimony. And that makes sense then why she'd be at the high school, right? Also, it happened later, right? It happened much later. I don't remember the time, but I think it's later. At Reasonably Doubtful, sends $6.99. Me again. Watch Colin stumble to make sure he gets 3 flights of stairs in. At first, he was going to say the stairs. Very odd. I will definitely check it. I know that Emily, I saw it, but I didn't see it in context, so I'll have to go back and see it in context. I will definitely look at it. And today, probably. At Reasonable Eggheads, I love it, sends $5. Tell me what flag this is. I feel like I should know off the top of my head, but I don't want to get it wrong.
What flag?
The flag here from the black, red, and gold flag. You don't know either? Oh my God. Where's my daughter?
Oh, it wasn't coming up on. It's.
You can't see it?
That looks like either Spain or Germany, right?
I think it's Germany. Is it Germany? I don't know if that's Germany or not. I feel Germany, but I didn't want to say that. Your dynamic is gold.
Thank you.
S equals analytical plus clever, insightful, and funny. I've got totally turned around. Vince is hilarious. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And
I think she meant to write on instead of around.
What do you mean? Oh, I'm sorry. I think she definitely meant around, but that's okay. I think that's Germany. That's my sense. But it's a poor job by me. I really should know all the flags. I feel like I really need to. Thank you so much for your support. Resembled Eggheads, I love your name. At Anarchy Bite sends $10. I had people try to invite me to other people's places, so I understand Karen not feeling invited. I understand that too, totally.
Me too.
Plus, I think Karen and Jen meet for the first time there, so happy-go-lucky lady equals to a no. So happy-go-lucky lady equals to a no.
Meaning to go into the house. I get what you're saying, but these people, they had really nothing else to do, and they like the party. You know, when you don't want to go out to your boyfriend or fiance, whoever is how, like, they're his friends, and you naturally
100%.
Yeah, so I get that. I just don't think Karen was in that mindset. I think that she would have went anywhere.
Yeah, it's weird. The whole thing is a little weird. I don't know either. At Joe Maurer 1902 sends $9.99. Thank you so much, Joe. We very much appreciate your support. Our dear friend Mark sends $4.99. Is there a recording prior to John getting out of Karen's truck? Hi, Mark. Is there a recording of what?
Prior to
John getting out of Karen's truck. A recording of what?
Well, it would be nice if we had some form of a ring recording. The only thing would be a video or audio.
So the only thing that we have John's phone. We have Ian Whiffen telling us that the phone stopped. I don't know if Richard Grain looked at this. I didn't see the full report yet. Maybe we will. The phone stops, according to Ian Whiffen, at 12:24 and 30 seconds, I think. And then it starts
36 seconds.
Yeah, and then it starts moving towards the house at maybe it's 12:24 and 38 seconds, and then it starts moving towards the house at 12:25 and 30 seconds. I think that's right.
Yeah, it would have to be pretty quick because the truck is behind them. Yeah, so it's not much time to sit.
Also remember, Mark, the time that you're going to see is going to be after the event. It might just be seconds after, but it has to be after because the event has to have happened.
Right.
So we're looking at like a 20-second window, most likely. And remember, this has really been an eye-opening experience. There's those the steps and the heart rate, I think. The John data that shows us like 12:20 to 12:24, 12:21. All of the stuff that we are looking at happens on the back end of that. It's like at the very last second. And I would never have known that the same probability exists, that it could have been at any one of the minutes in between until this case. I don't think I would have guessed that, though. I would have probably
Right.
assumed that it has to be right, like in the middle or whatever. So it's not necessarily like intuitive, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I get
At Auto1630 sends $10. Okay, so you are looking at Karen Higgy, but not Jen. JOK. Jen helped John with the kids, and she, because very fond of John.
Oh yeah, she would have hooked up with John in a
Oh,
heartbeat.
for sure. She definitely had a thing for John, without a doubt. At Eleni RN40 sends $19.99. I have in my mind that Colin may have smashed a beer bottle in John's face, or that glass that he was holding. How did the glass get into his face? Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll give you my Cliff Notes version of that. Nicole has glass all over the living room. She has glass vases, glass photo frames. She's got like knickknacks. And my guess is that the glass may be from like a glass table that was there, could be from a drink, but I don't think it's from his glass. I think they literally break that glass. They literally take the glass that he was holding and they throw it next to where they left his body, and it shatters. That's my guess. So.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the
All
glass in his face has anything to do with the glass that he was, because the fight is in a very small area in
Right.
the house. And if you look at the pictures in the family room, she has glass everywhere in that room. So my guess is, and if you watch the fight research that I did, when they are there's a couple of fights in the fight research that are in a small area inside, not outside. You see what happens. Like 2 hits and shit is breaking. Glass shatters. Like, if you fight with somebody, these are big men in a small area. People, if you're fighting like that, nobody cares about what's in their way.
That's true.
So, and a dog, that's a big fucking dog too. Excuse my language. But if you look at the picture that it's in one of my more recent videos, but you can find it online. It's the family photo with the dog. She's not 70 pounds. She's bigger than 70 pounds. She's a big girl, Chloe. I don't know if you've seen how big she is, but she's a big girl. At Mr. G70, we're almost there. Sends $5. Brian Higgins tells Brian Albert he wants to confront John at Brian's house. Brian says, "Oh, so you're a tough guy now? You think you can take him?" And that starts the fight play.
At the actual bar.
Yeah,
I don't think so. I think this is a crime of passion. And it didn't happen yet because Brian Higgins is just trying to get the attention of Karen when he's doing all that humping. So I don't think he's at all anticipating an actual fight. The last thing you want when you're trying to have an affair is to even be involved with the husband/boyfriend. That's not your objective.
I think it's escalating as the night goes on.
Right.
That would be what I would say as well. At RC11 Firehorse 199 says, Jen said no dog. Brian Albert couldn't say where the dog was. Jen said she didn't see a dog.
Right.
This is the next morning, though. The next morning. That night, everyone saw the dog.
Certainly. But the question is, why wasn't the dog barking? Why did Jen not even see the dog? That's odd. Yeah.
So stupid. They're not, like I said, not the sharpest. We have new members. Yeah, we have some. So we had new gifted memberships. So we got some new members at Shenanigans 24. Welcome to the club. Very excited to have you. Denise, member for 10 months. Denise, you're the greatest mod in the world. The very best, the very best. DP Max Effort sent it to me. Thank you. See, that's what I thought. DP Max Effort, thank you so much for the video. I recognized the name right away, so I didn't want to misassign it to somebody that didn't make it. But I thought it was a great video. Vince, I will send it to you, and we will definitely play it next time. Thank you so much for your effort, DP Max Effort. And thanks, Denise, for letting me know. At Villanelles 27, sends $7.99. HD didn't see JOK injury from dog at the time. He had the infamous hoodie on, and they had way bigger problems. Well, they might not have seen the injury, but they saw the dog, right? So they would have seen what the dog did, but they didn't see the outcome, I guess, right? At Anne Marie Tipton, member for 6 months. Happy anniversary. Hey, y'all. Love listening to both of your views on this case. Also, I giggle every time I hear we will never, ever forget who the real Brian Higgins. That's right. The real killer. The real killer. Brian Higgins. Ray of Sun 69 became a YouTube member. Welcome, Ray of Sun 69. I'm super excited that you are a new member. Check out the member benefits at CC Headband Cupcake Lawnerd since 1999. Hi, CC Cupcake Lawnerd. I'm sitting in a Jeep dealership picking up. Stop it. That's not true. The men keep saying, why do these two on your screen keep talking about? I told them they didn't have that kind of time. That's hilarious. Love our Mondays. Love to you. That's hilarious. What a good story, Cece. That's very funny. Not enough time for sure. At Resembled Egghead sends $2. Pet Theory. Brian Higgins, not the perp, but quiet for the Albert clan. Okay. Interesting. You have to present a different theory, though, too. At Freckles Feet Kitty sends $4.99. Sam and Vince, did Higgy ever explain why he didn't respond to Karen's text? Love you both. No.
That's huge, though. It's a huge point, and under any other circumstance, he would be ecstatic, Brian Patrick, except for the fact that he was the one who did it, because this is exactly what you want. You literally have Karen free now to yourself.
Yep. There's so many reasons to, like, why I think he didn't, but that was so, to me, that's so extreme consciousness of guilt, right? Because he really was into her. At Joe Maurer 1902 sends $9.99. Sam, any chance Jen leaves her husband? Also, any chance anyone flips? No. So these people are now in a trauma bond, and they can't leave each other, even if they want to.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, they are stuck. I mean, it'll be a long time before they can leave each other. It is an absolute nightmare. This Jen's family is a train wreck. One of her daughters already been to rehab. God only knows for what.
Oh, really?
It's a nightmare. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Which we know because the father, her father, Jen's father, grandfather of the kids, wrote a letter to the DA complaining about all of us, saying it was our fault.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. This is it. We're at the very end. Latvia sends $9.99. I'm always listening, but I rarely catch it live. Love you guys. I believe Higgy Bear tells the FBI he did see a tall, dark-haired guy walk in because Colin was actually there. He doesn't want to take the fall. Okay. I mean, some people believe that. I am very certain it's John, but I got you. I hear you. I think he's just trying to cover all his bases, honestly. Higgy Bear. I think he's trying to cover all. He's playing a game, right? He tells the feds that, tall, dark-haired guy, just in case eventually, I guess it comes out that, I mean, who knows? But that is the time of the crime, so it's pretty convenient.
That's a fine-looking super chat.
Yes, and thank you so much. Latvia. It's a beautiful name. All right, you guys, that is our show. Vince, happy Monday. Enjoy the rest of your Monday.
Oh, is next week Memorial Day? What are we doing?
Next week, we won't be here next week. Oh, my God. Next week is Memorial Day, so we will see you guys. Maybe a different day.
Yeah, during the week.
We'll check it out. Okay, we'll talk about it. Everybody, enjoy your week and happy Memorial Day, and we will speak to you all again soon. Bye, guys. Bye.
It is the defense counselor's duty to protect the rights of the individual, as it is the prosecution's duty to uphold and defend the laws of the state. Justice for all. Only we have a problem here.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through eyes covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright.
This is me reminding you to like this video. Like the video. I promise if you get up right now and you like this video, I will never sing again.